Chapter 1352. After witnessing Black Song of Tower City turn into a black wind and disappear, Silver returned to hug Vainilana and fell asleep peacefully. The next morning, the sky was turning bright. Vainilana, who woke up first, took a deep look at Dustless before leaving quietly. As for when Dustless attacked, it was already late in the morning. Time was tight, and the dependents of the Supernatural Research Department were all undergoing intense training. Only Dustless was walking around in boredom. He had nothing to train, and no one could train him. Bored, he strolled around the Gemengli family's territory alone to kill time. It seems to be the same as the human world. There's nothing special about it. On the streets, Dustless strolled around, looking left and right. He realized that it was the same as human society. There were all kinds of supermarkets and peddlers selling vegetables and fruits. The only difference between them and humans was that they were all demons with black wings. Thud, thud, thud. Suddenly, there were messy footsteps in front of him. Dustless raised his head instinctively. Bang, bang, bang. A ferocious force came from the front, and Dustless, who was caught off guard, was sent flying. Ouch, F***CK. Dustless sat on the ground and touched his red forehead. It hurt a little. Just as he was about to teach the bastard who attacked him a lesson, a delicate arm suddenly grabbed him. "I'm sorry, are you all right?" A pleasant and crisp voice asked. It seemed to be the person who bumped into him. "I'm fine," Dustless complained with a dark expression. He was knocked down by someone for no reason due to his carelessness. How could he endure this? Unable to restrain his anger, he raised his head and roared angrily out of humiliation. "How dare you? You are—" The words at the tip of Wu Chen's tongue stopped abruptly. What entered his sight was a silver-haired girl with an extraordinary appearance. Her watery eyes were moving nimbly, and her face was full of apologies. Silver hair drooped down on Dustless's head. The 3,000 strands of willow hair were filled with an elegant fragrance. It was very pleasant to the smell. The young girl's skin was fair and beautiful. Her facial features were as beautiful as the moon. Her bright eyes sparkled like stars, and her delicate red lips were like a blooming poppy flower, emitting a magical power. The young girl's face was filled with nervousness as she nervously looked at Dustless. After a while, she let out a sigh of relief. It seems like he's not injured. Otherwise, there would be another expense. It smells really good. Because the two of them were too close, Dustless could still clearly smell the faint fragrance of the girl's body. It lingered in his mouth and nose for a long time. Why does it feel so familiar? Staring at the nervous girl who grabbed him, Dustless felt a sense of familiarity. She was somewhat similar to a certain figure in his mind, so he asked tentatively, "Lothias?" The girl was obviously stunned. She looked at Dustless in surprise and asked, "How do you know me?" It really is her. Dustless's eyes flashed. He did not expect to meet this Valkyrie here. Lothias is Odin's bodyguard, which indirectly means that the main god called Odin is also here. Since he is so desperate to form an alliance, maybe there's a big problem with their mythological system. That god called Loki seems to be Odin's sworn enemy. Staring at Lothias' perfect face, Dustless guessed in his heart. Ahem. Lothias coughed twice, then blinked at Dustless and asked, "Young man, have you seen an old man with white hair and a white beard?" "Old man?" "Yes." Without even thinking, Wu Che replied without hesitation. "Are you talking about the old man who stares at women's buttocks? I saw him just now on this road. He is very wretched. Big sister, you have to stay away from him." Lothias' mouth twitched, and her face turned red. She did not doubt Dustless's words, because their main god, Odin's personality, was so perverted. The gods of the Norse mythological system are going to faint from crying. Lothias rubbed her temples tiredly and said speechlessly. Odin was also a headache. He was more like a lecherous old man than a main god. "First, let me introduce myself. My name is Lothias. Please take care of me in the future." Lothias' face bloomed with a gentle smile as she extended her hand and said very politely. Dustless nodded slightly and also extended his right arm to shake her hand. He smiled and said, "My name is Dustless, the husband of the Gimli family." I'm very familiar with this place. Why don't I take you to that wretched old man? Wretched old man. Hearing this, Lafayette smiled with a lot of black lines hanging on her forehead. She did not know whether to laugh or cry. Dustless took the initiative to volunteer. Anyway, he was bored now, so it was better to find a beautiful woman to relieve his boredom. It was much better than facing a group of men. Gimli family? What does he have to do with magic Sazex? Hearing this, Lafayette's eyes flashed, and she guessed the identity of Dustless. Then she frowned slightly, feeling that the name Dustless was familiar. Sazex's sister Ria's, she is my future wife. Seeing through Lafayette's confusion, Dustless said his identity with a smile. You want to find that wretched old man? I'll take you there. Slightly closing his eyes, Dustless's observation hockey quietly spread, and he concentrated on searching for the traces of Odin. After a while, he opened his deep eyes with a confident look on his face. Apparently, he noticed the existence of Odin. He simply took Lafayette's small hand. The latter's face suddenly turned red, and she gave up after struggling for a while. Her first impression of Dustless was also good, and he did not seem like the kind of person who had a dirty mind. Chapter 1353. The reason why Lafayette did not resist Dustless was not only because of his good influence, but also because of the Gimli family. After all, they were here to form an alliance, so naturally, they would not ruin their relationship with Dustless. Speaking of which, aren't you curious about my identity? Aren't you afraid that you raped me? Dustless slyly rolled his eyes and teased. If that's the case, I'll definitely accept it with pride. You. Lafayette's white face instantly turned red, and her angry look was very cute and playful. Miss Lafayette, you should be the bodyguard of the Norse god Odin, right? The real purpose of coming to the underworld this time is to form an alliance with the fallen angels, the demons, and angels. Calamity should be a threat to the Norse mythological system, right? Dustless spoke frankly. The existence of Calamity was a threat to the entire world. Lafayette's white chin lightly nodded, and then she could not help but ask curiously, since you know my identity, you still dare to say that? What you said just now might ruin our relationship. Is that a serious crime? After saying that, Lafayette looked at Dustless with her hands on her hips, like a tiger eyeing its prey. Serious crime? What does that have to do with me? Dustless curled his lips to express his confusion, and then said bluntly, destroy it if you want. What does it have to do with me? Even if this world is destroyed by calamity, it has nothing to do with me. Dustless's expression was normal, and he really felt that this group of people was boring enough. They could live their own lives, and the grand script of the Savior was really not suitable for him. Even if the world is destroyed, you will be finished. Lafayette said seriously, looking at Dustless with a hopeless expression. That's simple. Upon hearing this, Dustless' soul smiled nonchalantly and said, I will get rid of them before they destroy me. Dustless had never thought of becoming enemies with the group of misfortune, but if they didn't know what was good for them, such as White Dragon Emperor Wally, who took the initiative to come to him, Dustless wouldn't be polite. Dustless would generously send his enemies to their deaths if they took the initiative to send them to their deaths. By the way, are you sure you can find Sir Odin? Rose Vaez questioned. She felt that Dustless's sloppy behavior was a little strange. Odin hasn't been found yet, but there's a group of people who came to trouble us. Observation hockey expanded, and Dustless found a large number of killers ambushed on both sides of the street. Hearing this, Lothwise frowned slightly and looked at Dustless in confusion. Just as she was about to ask him what happened, countless black shadows suddenly attacked and surrounded the two of them. You sure have a lot of enemies, Lothwise said with a frown, her tone turning cold. I think you are mistaken. This group of people is coming for you. Dustless glanced at Lothwise gently and said softly, as long as you die, I don't think the alliance of several forces will be so smooth, and there is even a possibility that they will part ways. Am I that important? I'm just an insignificant bodyguard. Lothwise was speechless and felt that Dustless was shirking his responsibility. Don't belittle yourself. You've been Odin's bodyguard for so many years, and your status isn't low. If you were killed for no reason, that old man Odin would definitely get angry. And this is the territory of the Gimli family. When the time comes, a battle will be unavoidable. Wu Chun calmly analyzed. His analysis was well-grounded, and no one could find a reason to refute it. TSK. But this group of people who came to sneak attack me forgot a major problem. Immediately afterward, Dustless continued to add, "It's okay to attack you, but they dare to attack me. They are bold." After saying that, Dustless revealed a terrifying demonic smile. Like a hunter lurking in the wilderness, his eyes shot out an oily green light that could devour people. Strange, why do I feel that this guy is familiar, but I can't remember specifically? Lothwise stomped her feet angrily, but Dustless had already launched a fatal attack. Boom, boom, boom. A majestic, insubstantial energy ripple erupted from Dustless's body and spread hundreds of meters away in the blink of an eye. Those who came into contact with the energy ripple all frothed at the mouth. And in the sky, a huge rift had been torn open. What is this feeling? Luisiwi's eyes were filled with panic as she looked at Dustless in disbelief. Even though the airwave wasn't deliberately released to target her, it was still oppressive. It was as though she had encountered her natural enemy, and her entire body was trembling slightly. Luisiwi even felt that with just a thought from Dustless, she would be crushed to pieces. "You? Who are you?" Suppressing the shock in her heart, Lothwise asked. The black-clothed people surrounding them were instantly killed, all of them frothing at the mouth and rolling their eyes. "My name is Dustless. I've told you before." Dustless crossed his arms and said casually. Suddenly, he felt an unusual energy fluctuation in the sky. Is the main culprit of the sneak attack here? Quietly staring at the mysterious magic circle in the void, Dustless smelled an unusual energy fluctuation. Dustless. Oh, right, I remember now. The Dustless who killed the fallen angel cadre and almost killed the white dragon Emperor Wally in an instant. Lothwise rubbed her eyes and suddenly realized that she had heard the legend of Dustless's abnormal power. After hearing the rumors of Dustless's heaven-defying strength, Lothwise also became a fan of Dustless. Chapter 1354. Lusvias was extremely excited. Her eyes sparkled with starlight as she looked at Dustless with 2 stars in her eyes. This woman has changed so much. Women are indeed fickle creatures. Dustless felt uncomfortable under this inexplicable gaze. For some reason, he felt as though Lothwise was going to swallow him. He had to change the topic. "I think he's the culprit who attacked us just now." Dustless looked at the distant sky. The magic circle there was clearly visible. This magic circle. I don't know much about magic, but I'm sure that the person who attacked us is definitely not ordinary. Dustless explained with great interest. Crack, crack, crack. At the same time, the sky exploded with a crisp sound like a mirror. Countless cracks appeared in the boundless void, crisscrossing like a spider web. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Majestic magic waves spread out, and the entire sky shook violently. It seemed like it could not hold on any longer. Not bad. After a few rough glances, Dustless estimated the approximate strength of the intruder. Based on the energy waves in this world, it was probably someone on the level of a god. Just not bad. Los Valles, who was beside him, smiled bitterly. Dustless was bold, but this unusual energy wave made her shudder. Her body was about to be crushed. In other words, it was like the absolute suppression of a higher life form over a lower life form. It was full of disdain. Oh, this god is obviously not a good person. He only knows how to bully the weak and fear the strong. The surface of Dustless' body emitted a faint golden luster that enveloped Los Civius. Only then did her rapid breathing stabilize. Looking closely, she was already sweating profusely, and her sweat had soaked her clothes. Due to the water, certain parts of Lasvia's body could be vaguely seen by the sharp-eyed Dustless. Gulp. Dustless swallowed his saliva and secretly gave her a thumbs up. Rosevay's figure was definitely top-notch. Sorry, I've dragged you down. At the same time, She gazed deeply at the familiar magic array. She could already vaguely guess who it was that had arrived. Do you know that idiot god? He really has no taste. Noticing Lasvia's strange expression, Dustless's unrestrained words resounded throughout the world. Idiot, don't you know who that is? That's a god, a real god. The corner of Lothwai's mouth twitched. She quickly covered Dustless's mouth and pressed him into her arms. At the same time, she shouted at the magic circle in the sky. Lord Loki, this child is not sensible. Please forgive him. Bang, bang, bang. The horizon completely exploded. A rather handsome young man stood there with his hands behind his back. His expression was dark and wild, and in his eyes, everyone was like ants that couldn't even withstand a single blow. This guy, this annoying long Outyin face, is really annoying. Dustless's eyes flashed with anger. He then enjoyed lying in Los Vias's arms, enjoying her intoxicating body fragrance and the two meaty things on his head. Oomph. The evil god Loki first snorted coldly and glanced at Dustless with murderous eyes. Then he smiled. He noticed that there was not the slightest fluctuation on him, so he deliberately treated him as a pawn that wasn't worth mentioning. He's just a piece of trash. I won't bother with him, but Loki's lips curled into a ferocious smile. He said directly, "My pet is hungry. I'll have to trouble you too to fill his stomach. This time I'll let bygones be bygones." Loki waved his hand and looked magnanimous. However, his words made Los Vias feel as if she had fallen into an ice cave. "Lord Loki, what you're doing is against, don't waste your breath. He's determined to kill the two of us. This will cause a rift between the two sides. When that happens, the plan to form an alliance will fail." Dustless interrupted Los Vias. He looked at Loki, who was standing in the void, and a strange look flashed in his eyes. Whoa, 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 whoa. At the same time, a hysterical roar shook the sky. Violent winds and waves came at them. The surrounding buildings were destroyed, and the streets that were filled with people turned into ruins in the blink of an eye. This beast, oh no, what's the name of this wolf? Dustless asked Los Vias innocently. I say, you're not doing this on purpose, are you? That wolf's name is Fenrir. Los Vias fiercely pinched Dustless's face and asked with a dark expression. Whoa, 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 whoa. The silver wolf roared angrily at the sky. The sky seemed to tremble as a huge ripple spread across the entire sky. It was as if even the heavens were afraid of his power. Seeing this, Dustless just smiled and replied coldly with an expressionless face. The world has changed. It's just a mere beast, and it dares to bare its teeth at people. As expected, the world is deteriorating day by day. Let's retreat quickly. The two of us together are no match for it. We must not let Loki's scheme succeed. At this point, Los Vias had also given up on the idea of fighting. Fenrir was already a ferocious demon. If the evil god Loki joined in, the two of them had no chance of winning. Run? Do you think the two of us can outrun these two crazy gods? Dustless stood up and stretched. His eyes were filled with a cold light. Then what do you plan to do? Los Vias, who was at a loss, sighed. Her voice was filled with despair. It's very simple. I'll use my fist to tell that beast whose fist is stronger. Chapter 1355. Dustless's words caused the entire sky to become solemn, including Loki, who was standing in the void with his hands behind his back. He looked at Dustless's confident little face as if he was looking at a ghost. That extremely convincing and arrogant speech was definitely not something he said casually to fool people. Are you crazy? Los Via, who recovered from her shock, was the first to question. At the same time, she used all her strength to pull Dustless away, but it was in vain. The latter's body was fixed like a wedge, and it was difficult to move. Ow, 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 ow. The hungry wolf Fenrir was furious. The hair on its body stood up, and it bared its teeth at Dustless. There was even saliva dripping from the corner of its mouth. Ignorant and arrogant human, go to hell. Luoshun said indifferently, and with a wave of her hand, Fenrir jumped up, turned into a huge monster, and pounced down. It opened its big mouth as if it wanted to swallow Dustless and Los Via together. Want to form an alliance? Humph! Did I allow it? Loki sneered. His tone was filled with endless arrogance. Ow, ow, ow. Fenrir, who rushed over, was about to swallow Dustless and Losvaya into its mouth. I can't believe I'm going to die so inexplicably, damn it. I still don't have a boyfriend. God is really bad to me. Losvaya knelt on the ground in despair, and her pretty face lost its luster. No matter how I die, I can't be swallowed by a hungry wolf, no matter what his identity is. Dustless stood up and stretched. His face outlined a cold arc when Fenrir's ferocious and smelly huge teeth were about to swallow him. A powerful attack from the dark clouds fell from the sky. Boom, boom, boom. Dustless is right. I changed dramatically. The eyeball was like a flower, mysterious and beautiful. In a hurry, Dustless did not hesitate to release the Tensigan. The repulsive force that was enough to shake the world rose from Dustless's palm into the sky. Boom, 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 boom. Fenrir was fatally injured. His huge body trembled violently, and then, under the shocked gazes of Loki and Losvaya, he was sent flying. Bang, bang, bang. The earth-shaking repulsive force sent Fenrir flying several hundred meters away. Gulp! A look of panic appeared on Loki's face, and his eyes were filled with shock. Are you kidding me? You actually sent my baby flying? You even sent him flying so far away. Rocky roared abnormally. Due to excessive shock, his voice was incomparably sharp. It sounded extremely ear-piercing and made people's hair stand on end. Are you all right, Fenrir? Loki's face was dark. After being attacked so seriously, even he felt uncomfortable. Evil god Loki, do you have time to worry about others? A large number of photons gathered behind Loki, and then a cold voice rushed into his earpiece. When he was about to open the defensive magic circle, it was already too late. A heavy kick came down from the sky. Lightspeed kick. The flashing foot mercilessly hit Loki's head. His mind suddenly trembled, and his worldview seemed to have been kicked out. His mind was in a blur. Boom, boom, boom. Attacked by a powerful force, Loki's body fell to the ground. His body came into close contact with the ground, smashing out a shocking deep pit. His head was covered in blood as he lay in the pit. Am I dreaming? Lord Loki and Fenrir were instantly killed by that guy. Losvia's mind was in a mess, and her pair of majestic jade rabbits were swaying back and forth. The situation changed too quickly. In the blink of an eye, she went from being the prey to the hunter. She had yet to adapt. Damn thing, damn thing, damn thing. Loki seemed to have suffered a great humiliation. His face was distorted as he roared angrily. The boundless killing intent doubled. Being kicked by a nobody made him dizzy. His self-esteem was seriously provoked. God was angry. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In response to Loki's indignation, magic circles appeared all over the sky, densely piling up in the sky. As the price for angering me, disappear without leaving a single piece of you behind. The silent magic circles rippled with destructive light. It was not just one or two magic circles, but the magic circles in the sky were blooming with the brutal light of destruction. Disappear. Under Loki's command, the light that was brewing in the magic circles shot out. The originally blue sky was suddenly covered by the light of destruction. Because there were too many of them, the light of destruction condensed together and turned into a light of destruction that covered the sky and smashed down. Boom, boom, boom. The moment it came into contact with Dustless's body, the void shook violently. Dustless's body also disappeared completely. Just as Loki said before, there was not even a trace of him left. This is the price for offending me, stupid guy. Loki curled his lips and said disdainfully. Waves of golden light floated in the vast sky. It was very warm and sacred. It gathered in one direction and finally compressed into a vague outline of a human. Light? How could such a thing appear? Frowning, Loki stared at the human outline compressed by the light. Combined with the lightspeed kick that Dustless used just now, he suddenly had a bad idea. Very good, very powerful attack. The ethereal and abrupt voice rang in his ears, mocking Loki without leaving a trace. His old face instantly became very gloomy. If this attack is really powerful, why didn't your damn thing work? But I'm sorry. I'm the flash person who ate the flash fruit. This kind of pure physical attack doesn't work on me. All your attacks are useless against me. You're just asking to be humiliated. Chapter 1356. Loki's face was black. Dustless's words were tantamount to a direct slap in his face, and it was a very loud one. The meaning of these words was obviously, I will stand still and let you hit me. But you can't hit me. Oh. At the same time, Fenrir, who was previously sent flying by the Tensigan, roared again. Dustless's powerful strength not only didn't hurt him, but it also stirred up the anger in Fenrir's heart. It's worthy of being a powerful species that can rival the gods. Dustless nodded secretly. This ugly big dog was very powerful. At least he was very good at fighting. Show me here. Your enemy is me, Loki. Rocky roared. Dustless's indifferent expression made him feel like he was being looked down upon. Whoosh! The boundless magic array spread out again, and a large black area, like before, piled up all over the sky, emitting a bright, destructive light wave. It's still the same trick. Dustless raised his eyebrows slightly, and the power of the Tensigan in his right eye was twisted, and his own form also changed. The emerald light wrapped his whole body, and several green pillars floated behind him. Dustless's temperament also changed greatly, and his eyes were filled with arrogance. Only with the strength of a god can I defeat a god like you. Glancing at Loki faintly, several green pillars behind Dustless moved, and they all liquefied and gathered in the palm of Dustless. The golden light could be vaguely seen, gathering in the palm of Dustless, but it was very weak, as if it would be extinguished at any time by the wind. What's the use of the light of a firefly? Who do you think your enemy is? I'm a god, Loki. Loki said proudly, especially when he mentioned the word god. He deliberately emphasized the word. However, Dustless just glanced at him with pity. Loki may be a god, but he is definitely the weakest god that Dustless has ever confronted so far. Buzz. More and more magic arrays spread throughout the void, and looking at Loki's distorted face, it seemed that the whole world was turned into a magic array. It's time to end this. With a cold look in his eyes, Dustless threw out the light in his hand like a sharp sword with all his strength. The weak light expanded thousands of times. Golden wheel reincarnation explosion. The faint golden light turned into a sword of light that could destroy the entire world. Its length exceeded the limit of what the eye could capture, and it attacked the entire sky like a wave. Ka. The magic circles that came into contact with it all collapsed and were shattered by the absolute power. The withered pieces of the magic circles were no different from the broken pieces of a mirror, reflecting Loki's stunned old face. Ayo. At the same time, Fenrir seized the opportunity. His huge body accelerated without limit. His four limbs gathered explosive power. When he got close to Dustless, he jumped up and pounced towards the sky. For a dog to be able to jump so high, you could be considered to have set a new record. You deserve to be praised. Dustless sneered, and his boiling spiritual pressure turned into a powerful attack to suppress it, faintly revealing the coat of arms, the arrogant and unruly talent. After chanting the ancient incantation at the fastest speed, the environment around Fenrir immediately changed. He was in the ropeway of the huge coffin. Ayo. Inside the dead silent coffin, Fenrir screamed in panic, but no one paid attention to him. It was as if the whole world had abandoned him. Then, Fenrir found that he was locked on by countless sharp points. Swoosh. Thousands of invisible blades shot out at the same time, attacking every cell in Fenrir's body. Poochie. Although Fenrir avoided some of the deadly invisible blades, there were too many of them. It was inevitable that he would be injured. Soon, his huge body was dripping with blood, and his skin and flesh were exposed. His breath was also very weak. There were scars all over his body, as if he had been cut by 1,000 blades. His white bones could still be seen. Bang, bang, bang. After a while, the black coffin collapsed, and the half-dead Fenrir fell to the ground. He was only one step away from death. The scars all over his body made people think about how horrible Fenrir had been treated. Even though he had lost consciousness, Fenrir was still trembling in fear. "Ah, damn it. What did you do to my baby, you bastard? I want you to pay with your blood." Loki, who had lost control of his mind, roared. His eyes were about to burst. Gulp. So powerful. Lothwise, who was stunned, was horrified. She did not expect Dustless to be so strong. Loki and Fenrir were like rabbits that he could play with at will. Lord Odin's decision to form an alliance with the demons is too wise. At first, Lothwise still had doubts about the alliance. Now, according to Dustless's strength, it was a good deal. After all, he was the son-in-law of the Gimli family, and the Norse mythology system would definitely rise with him. "Do you want to be like him, Loki?" Dustless asked faintly. His light tone was weak, and it gave people the feeling that he was holding up the situation. However, no one dared question him. After all, Fenrir was a lesson. Puffed, puffed, puffed. It was fine if Dustless did not say it. Once he said it, Loki's heart ached. Fenrir was almost sent to hell by Dustless. If he turned a deaf ear to this hatred, he would not be able to survive in the future. He would probably be laughed at when he returned to Northern Europe. "I can't let it go like this. I'm a god. How can I lose to such an unknown brat?" Loki chose to continue his deathbed struggle. It was fine if a god, fell. After all, there was always someone better than him. However, he could not tolerate this person who made him fall. Chapter 1357. Losvia was extremely shocked. She felt as if her eyes were blurred, and her breasts were heaving up and down. If she was not mistaken, Dustless seemed to have used a casual move to kill this infamous wolf. Looking at his half-dead appearance, it was a question whether he could survive in the end. "Lord Loki, please don't be stubborn, or you will also." Her gaze fell on Fenrir's head, and Lothwise's squirming mouth suddenly stopped. If she hurt Loki's self-confidence as a god, it would be counterproductive. However, Loki only glanced at Lothwise and understood what she was trying to say. His expression was gloomy, as if he had eaten 10 pounds of flies, and he roared in a low voice. "Are you trying to say that if I don't know what's good for me, I will end up like Fenrir?" This was naked mockery and slander. "You did well. I have never been as angry as I am today." Loki's expression was ferocious, and his protruding eyes were bloodshot, as if they were about to fall out. "You think too highly of yourself." Dustless shook his head gently. He had killed countless people who called themselves gods, and Loki could only be regarded as an ordinary existence among them. At this moment, Dustless suddenly realized that there was a slight change in the sky. A large pile of crystal ice fell, and it was strange that ice shards were falling. "Did you do it?" Dustless asked with a frown. "Of course." Evil god Loki said valiantly, and at the same time, he snapped his fingers, and the sky immediately froze. "Right, this guy seems to be able to control ice." Dustless suddenly understood, and there was some interest in his words. He then provocatively hooked his finger at Loki and said, "Take out your strongest move. This is your last chance." "Damn it." Loki's mouth twitched when he heard this, and the ice shards falling from the sky also became several times larger. They were as large as a villa, and there were so many that it was dazzling. "You want to smash me to death." In an instant, he saw through Loki's intention. Dustless stepped on the void and avoided the attack. However, it was useless. "Idiot, the one who manipulated them is me, Loki." With a wave of Loki's hand, the ice meteorite that Dustless had dodged changed its trajectory. Wherever Dustless ran, they would chase after him. Poochie. Due to his carelessness, Dustless's clothes were cut open. "Ha ha." Seeing this, Loki looked up to the sky and laughed wildly. Although the insignificant attack had no effect on Dustless, Loki himself enjoyed it very much. In the previous battle, he had used all his skills, but he couldn't even touch Dustless's hair. "Evil god Loki, I take back my previous underestimation." Let's deal with you a little more seriously. Dustless gave up on running away and turned to face the incoming attack head-on. The golden light turned into a sharp cold light and cut the incoming ice meteor into pieces. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, as soon as one was destroyed, another group appeared. You want to fight me? I'm a god. Without a doubt, gods did have the right to look down on mortals. For a loser like Dustless, who had no identity and no background, they were even more lethal. However, if Loki knew that Dustless was a visitor from another world, and that after trampling on 3 worlds in a row, countless gods had died in his hands, he might not think so. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A large vortex suddenly appeared in the sky, surrounded by meteorites. A dark red spiral sword appeared in Dustless's hand. The sword was emitting a dark red, demonic light. The moment it appeared, the whole world seemed to have stopped. What is that? Loki's old face darkened. Even he had a bad feeling. This is called the Good Separation Sword, Dustless explained calmly. Then, he raised the spiral sword high up. Legend has it that it can destroy the world and cut space. Now, I'll test it on you, Loki. After saying that, Wu Chun waved the Guile sword in his hand and slashed out. A huge red sword light whizzed out. Ka. The floating meteorites seemed to have met their natural enemy. When they came in contact with the huge red light, they all disintegrated. The sky cleared up again, and the warm sunlight shone down again. How is this possible? I spent so much effort on this move. How can it be so weak? The evil god, Loki, said in a daze. Dustless had crushed his confidence in one move. There's no need to be sad. Putting away the Good Separation Sword, Dustless picked up the corner of his torn clothes and comforted him. Look on the bright side. At least you didn't come out empty-handed. At least your attack tore the corner of my clothes. That's not a bad result. Hearing that, Loki looked like he had eaten Chinese gold thread. He could not speak of his bitterness. All he could do was hold it in and sulk. Ka. At the same time, the Good Separation Sword emitted an unprecedented sharpness. Just like its name, it cut through space. Wherever it went, it was as terrifying as a natural disaster. Something's not right. Dustless frowned as he stared at the spot where the Good Separation Sword had cut through. A strange look flashed across his face. The mysterious rainbow space clearly did not belong to the universe's abyss. It was fundamentally different and seemed to belong to a special zone. Although Dustless did not know what was good for him, he had an expert at this moment. That's a dimensional space? Are you kidding me? That weapon can really cut through space. Loki's eyes widened. He was so shocked that his jaw almost dislocated. Roar, roar, roar. At the same time, a loud dragon roar came from that space. It reverberated between heaven and earth, as if it came from ancient times. Could it be a majestic crimson body suddenly appeared in his mind? Dustless could vaguely guess what kind of person it was. There was only one dragon in the dimensional crevice. The Great Red. Chapter 1358. Although it's just a personal guess, there seems to be no one else in the dimensional crack except for the Great Red. The infinite dragon god Orpheus was driven out by the Great Red a long time ago, and no one can associate it with the red dragon recorded in the nerves. Bastard, could it be that it's... Loki's face also changed greatly, showing a rare look of awe. The Great Red is a powerful existence that even the gods are afraid of. It seems that it's not wrong. Seeing this, Dustless's expression showed a touch of curiosity, and his boundless observation hockey spread. The battle between Dustless and Loki has attracted the attention of many people, including the demon king Syzax and the Nordic god Odin. It shouldn't be dangerous to leave her here. Anyway, Syzax and Odin won't watch Lothvise fall and get hurt. After thinking that Lothvise was not in danger, Dustless turned into a red light and rushed into the dimensional crack. The Great Red is the existence that he is most interested in. Haha, reckless thing. Seeing this, Loki slapped the table and shouted, "Breaking into the dimensional crack alone is no different from looking for death. In the endless mystery, everything is still here. Where did that big lizard go?" Dustless looked around, and his observation hockey spread without limit, and found that the dimensional crack was boundless, beyond the limit of what he could perceive. And the great red has long disappeared. Ow, ow! The void rippled, and a majestic force spread rapidly, and the vicissitudes of life contained great power. This guy is not simple. It's a dragon. Dustless changed his words, and it was not difficult to see that he had a little more recognition of the great red. His observation hockey tightly locked the place where the sound came from, and Dustless's glint flash fruit's ability broke out to the limit. Whiz, whiz, whiz. Dustless turned into a golden beam of light, unstoppable, and marched toward the fist where the great red was located. Deep in the dimensional crack, the great red's huge dragon eyes flashed with a ripple, and it suddenly felt a special energy fluctuation. When he tried to sense it carefully, it was as if it had evaporated and did not exist at all. It should be a misconception. This is a dimensional crevice. No one can survive like me. It's also not like Orpheus. Unless she has absolute strength to suppress me, she should understand the consequences of rashly starting a fight with me. As for the others, they should not be so stupid as to make me their enemy. Unlike the simple-minded and ignorant infinite dragon god Orpheus, the great red heart was much smarter. Go back to sleep? No, there are indeed unknown creatures coming, and they're unbelievably fast. Raising its eyes abruptly, a hint of surprise flashed across its calm dragon eyes. The great red's wings flapped lightly, and it immediately whizzed out, rushing in the direction Dustless had come from. This intense feeling and powerful energy fluctuation was definitely not an illusion. Could it be that Orpheus is here? I don't think so. As the great red flew at full speed, it wondered who would be so exaggerated as to completely ignore the uniqueness of the dimensional crevice and fly at full speed. And its target was him. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Suddenly, a huge and thick flash of light came from the front, moving at the speed of light. Even so, the great red heart's calm dragon eyes could still see it clearly. Child's play. Seeing this, the great red heart snorted lightly, completely ignoring the existence of the light, and did not put up any defense. Flapping its wings, it directly charged forward without fear. It seemed like he wanted to use the hardness of his body to directly withstand the attack of the light. Bam, bam, bam. The gorgeous golden light did not explode, but it was scattered by the great red's valiant body. The red dragon recorded in the Bible's Revelation, the great red, is indeed not to be underestimated. How unimaginable is the hardness of this body to be able to completely ignore the attack of the light speed kick. Ripples appeared in the silent sky, and Dustless's voice entered the great red's ears. Buzz, 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 a large number of photons gathered and condensed into a human silhouette, revealing Dustless's original body under the great red's puzzled gaze. Awoo, awoo, awoo. Staring at Dustless, the great red locked onto Dustless with an unfriendly expression. A strange sound came from its dragon mouth, as if it was asking Dustless why he attacked it and trespassed into its territory. If you can speak human language, then speak human language. Your lizard tribe? Oh no, I don't understand the bird language of your dragon tribe. Dustless stared at its huge dragon eyes, showing no fear at all. Awoo. Obviously, unlike Dustless, the great red could understand what he was saying and even understood the meaning behind it. It roared even more angrily, and the deafening sound spread throughout the entire dimensional crevice. Who is this mysterious guy? He's very strong. The dragon squinted its eyes, noticing that Dustless was not affected by its aura. As if nothing had happened, the great red's eyes also showed a special color, alertness. Unreasonable guy, trespassing into someone else's territory, and even insulting me with your words. A clear and melodious voice suddenly came, and Dustless was stunned when he heard it. He looked towards the source, and to his surprise, the great red's body began to mutate. Its huge body shrunk without any limit, and its four limbs and wings were all folded up. Finally, the flower turned into an extraordinary purple girl. This is a female dragon. Chapter 1359. Dustless secretly clicked his tongue. He had once imagined the Great Red turning into a human. After all, if her nemesis, the infinite dragon god Orpheus, could do it, there was no reason why the Great Red could not. What did you call me? Female dragon. The Great Red's face in human form wrinkled as anger flashed across her delicate little face. I have a name too. You can call me the Great Red. The Great Red's human form was exceptionally stunning. Her looks were no less than Rias, Junai, and the others. In fact, the Great Red's unapproachable, goddess-like aura was far superior to the other ladies. Her black hair danced without wind. Her purple pupils were like gemstones embedded in her eye sockets. Her tall nose bridge was exceptionally cute, and her delicate red lips were like blooming flowers. Coupled with her exquisite facial features and that ethereal aura, even the most picky of beauties would have their hearts racing. Your eyes are very annoying. A hint of displeasure flashed across the Great Red's pretty face, and then she mercilessly chased him away. This is my territory. Leave if you don't want to be reduced to ashes. I originally thought that I was shameless and thick-skinned enough, but after hearing your name, I realized that I was simply too weak. You actually added the word great in front of your name. How narcissistic are you? Facing the Great Red's threat, Dustless was not afraid at all. Instead, he taunted her even more. You, digging your own grave. The Great Red's pretty face was filled with anger. From his speed and attack just now, she could guess that Dustless was not ordinary. However, that did not mean that she was afraid of Dustless. She was not afraid of the infinite dragon god Orpheus, so why would she be afraid of a nobody? She clenched her hand into a ball and smashed it forward without hesitation. Boom, boom, boom. The space where Dustless was standing instantly caved in. Circles of destructive ripples spread out, destroying everything that came into contact with it. Dustless himself was dismembered at the first moment, turning into countless photons. So weak? Seeing this, the Great Red raised an eyebrow. She stared at the photons that suddenly appeared in front of her and threw out another punch. Boom, boom, boom. The scene was exactly the same as before. At the lower limit of the void, circles of destructive waves spread out, as if the entire dimensional crevice was accompanied by wails of agony. However, the light did not react. Although it was scattered by the Great Red's punch, it still gathered in one place. Alili, you're really heartless. Why are you so ruthless? Is once not enough? Do you want to do it again? The photon rippled with a holy radiance, and then a figure floated out from it. So, unexpectedly, the Great Red ignored Dustless's words and threw another punch. Bang, bang, bang. This time, the force used was even more ferocious. Dustless's body was once again scattered and dismembered. The pieces of his body exploded dozens of meters away. It's useless. I'm the Shining Man. You can kill me with your bare fists. I might have died a few hundred years ago. Dustless's voice came from the void, and then his dismembered body exploded, turning into dense photons. Just like before, they flew in another direction, and it seemed like they were going to heal again. What kind of monster is this guy? Immortal and indestructible? Her crystal eyes were filled with doubts. This was the first time the Great Red had seen such an incredible ability. What's your goal? The Great Red raised his fist and asked in a flat tone. Me? It's actually very simple. After being reunited, Dustless said seriously, I want to be a dragon knight. I just want to capture you and make you my mount. It's that simple. Capture me and make me your mount? The Great Red was obviously angered by these words, and her body trembled. If you want to take advantage of me and ask for some benefits, I'll let it go. But your condition has exceeded the limit of my tolerance. Instead of letting you continue to be arrogant, I think it's better to let you see my strength first before you speak. The Great Red showed her valiant side. She opened her mouth slightly, and a boundless sea of fire erupted. As expected, all dragons have the habit of spitting fire. Witnessing the oncoming fire shadow, Wu Chen couldn't help but frown. He looked around. This exaggerated flame seemed to occupy the entire space of the dimensional crevice. Even the dead world was peeling off layer by layer, as if it was melting. No wonder she's invincible. She has unlimited power, and it's easy for her to squander it. Dustless nodded slightly. Unlimited power could be said to be her greatest advantage. Oomph. It's useless for you to be afraid now. The Great Red's eyes that were as calm as still water splashed out huge waves, turning into a rolling sea of fire. The eruption of the fire was even more ferocious and violent. Dustless's body was burning, and even the boundless abyss under his feet was distorted by the heat. However, his main body didn't feel any discomfort at all. This guy, seeing this, the Great Red frowned and secretly cursed Dustless for being troublesome. His ability was heaven-defying. Even if she had the power to destroy the world, her opponent was an existence that was like air, so what was the use? She couldn't hit him at all. Be my mount. I can bring you to a higher world and step into a higher realm. Dustless had roamed 3 worlds in a row, including the world before him. He had already roamed 4 worlds. They couldn't compare to Dustless's experience. His vision and mentality were higher. Boy, if someone else told you to be my mount, what would you think? Would you jump into my arms? The Great Red forcefully suppressed her raging fury and looked at Dustless with hostility. She enunciated every word clearly. Chapter 1360. Dustless was speechless and looked at the Great Red at a loss. He awkwardly found that he had nothing to say. If someone dared to say those kinds of words to him, Wu Chan would definitely beat him up until his parents couldn't recognize him. No matter what, there's no hope for negotiation. So sorry. Speaking of this, Dustless's eyes shone with a piercing cold light. Since there was no hope for peaceful negotiation, the only way left was to solve it by force. I'm not even afraid of the infinite dragon god Orpheus. Why would I be afraid of you? The Great Red raised her beautiful fist and showed no fear. This little female dragon is the same as Orpheus. They are both ignorant of the world. The only difference is that the Great Red is more scheming than the simple Orpheus. Dustless thought to himself. He didn't intend to hurt the Great Red. Boom, boom, boom. Dustless, who decided to awaken his force to tame the Great Red, naturally burst out his strength without mercy. Endless chakra and Ryatsu gushed out. As the main body of the 10-tailed beast, Dustless's chakra was infinite. Dustless, who also devoured the Spirit King in the Shinigami world, also had infinite Ryatsu. The greatest advantage of the Great Red was her infinite energy. Dustless also had it. Not only that, but he also gathered all kinds of heaven-defying abilities, such as Rinnegan Sharingan, Tensegan, and an immortal body, including elemental transformation, which could make him immune to 99% of physical attacks in the world. In addition, Dustless also had a large number of heaven-defying weapons that could destroy the world, such as the Parietal Sword and Yamamoto's Zenka no Tachi. They were all weapons that could destroy the entire world. Dustless had too many of them, so the Great Red had no advantage in front of him. It was the same in all aspects, so it was destined to be defeated and become Dustless Mount. And Dustless himself was gloriously sublimated into a dragon knight. Wanxiang Heaven's Pull. Dustless's hand was like the hand of heaven, shooting out invisible gravitational waves. Gravity, Great Red murmured and frowned. She didn't know why, but when she looked into those purple eyes, she felt extremely uncomfortable. It was as if she had met Orpheus. No, it was as if she had met an old enemy who was stronger than Orpheus. It made it difficult for her to calm down. Try to defeat me with such a weak gravitational force? The enemies who hated me were killed by me countless years ago. The Great Red wasn't afraid. Using the inertia of gravity, it arrived in front of Dustless in an instant. Its small white fist was filled with explosive power. Bang, bang, bang. The young fist smashed into Dustless's face, but he didn't turn into a photon like before. Instead, he directly penetrated Dustless's head. It was as if he had turned transparent. It's over. Silver, who had activated God's might, said softly as he pointed at the sky. Countless black shadows instantly descended from the sky. Immortal technique, bright God gate. The Great Red's beautiful eyes widened as she stared blankly at the falling red logs. She didn't expect Dustless to have a trick up his sleeve. She didn't even have the chance to run before she was suppressed by the dense logs. Boom, boom, boom. The red logs that filled the sky fell mercilessly. The Great Red's waist was suppressed by the red logs, and she couldn't move. How do you feel? It shouldn't hurt, right? I went easy on you. The immortal technique, bright God gate, that I released with my full strength isn't something that Senju Hashirama can compare to. Dustless squatted down and looked at the angry girl who couldn't escape no matter how hard she struggled. He couldn't help but smile. Be my mount. I won't treat you unfairly. Rubbing the girl's willow hair, Wu Chan said with a serious smile. I've already answered you. If you're willing to be someone else's mount, I'll be your mount. The Great Red snorted and turned her head away, unwilling to look at him. Stubborn problem girl. It seems that if I don't teach you a lesson, let me teach her a lesson for you. I know her weakness. A voice suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Not only was the Great Red shocked, but even Dustless was stunned. They instinctively looked toward the source of the voice. Orpheus, Dustless, and the Great Red said, in surprise at the same time. The Great Red avoided Orpheus' gaze at the first moment. Other than Dustless, Orpheus was the last person she wanted to see. She's kind enough to let you be her mount. Why are you so untactful? This is a big problem. You need to be punished. Orpheus grabbed Dustless and questioned. Her black eyes looked down at the Great Red, who was silent with her head lowered. A faint arc flashed across her naturally naive little face. She looked excited as if she had found a fun toy. I'll teach her a lesson for you. I guarantee that she'll be obedient. Orpheus promised passionately. At the same time, she sat on the Great Red's legs. A carefree smile flashed across her innocent face. This girl. Could it be that? Could it be? Dustless suddenly thought of something. He had a bad premonition. He dashed in front of Orpheus and was about to stop her, but it was too late. You actually chased me out of my hometown. As the main culprit, you're unforgivable. You need to be punished with the most severe punishment. Then, under Dustless's shocked gaze, Orpheus raised her hand and shattered the Great Red's bright toy. Her two fleshy buttocks were instantly exposed to Dustless's eyes. Then Orpheus did something even more shocking. She raised her fair hand and swung it down without hesitation. Smack! 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 The crisp sound echoed in the dead silence of the dimensional crevice. Not only was the Great Red stunned, but so was Dustless. The strongest existence in the legends, the real Red Dragon God Emperor, had her buttocks slapped. Chapter 1361. Dustless was dumbfounded, and the thoughts in his mind were buzzing. He had already figured out how serious and terrifying this matter was. The Great Red might fly into a rage out of humiliation and start a war with Orpheus. She would not hesitate even if the whole world was destroyed. After all, this was a matter of her dignity. If news of this spread out, she would not be able to face anyone. The dignity that she had accumulated over countless years would be gone. She would become the laughingstock of the whole world. While I say, smack, 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 the crisp sound was still echoing in Dustless's ears. The surroundings were dead silent. The silence was terrifying. He stared blankly at the infinite dragon god Orpheus, whose face was filled with a vengeful smile. Even if you want to die, you can't do this. The real Red Dragon God Emperor has the DXD Dragon of Dragons, the Great Red. Is her, but for anyone to spank? Most importantly, she did not even consider Dustless's existence in front of him. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Suddenly, the entire dimensional crevice was filled with a raging aura. He could vaguely hear the crisp sound of ka, ka, ka. Following the source of the sound, it was the Great Red whose face had turned black. Dustless could see that although the Great Red was very innocent in some aspects, she was fundamentally different from the infinite dragon god Orpheus. After being humiliated so greatly, Dustless was sure that this little female dragon was about to go berserk. Orpheus, you, this, family, friend, as expected, just as Dustless had guessed, the Great Red turned her head and stared at the infinite dragon god Orpheus, who was sitting on her with a serious expression. She was almost biting out every word. Come over here quickly. Sensing that the Great Red was about to go berserk, Dustless quickly pulled Orpheus over. Before he left, he did not forget to glance at the Great Red's round butt. Don't stop me. I'm teaching her a lesson for you. Orpheus spoke to Dustless in an extremely dissatisfied tone. Teaching her a lesson? You don't have to go so far as to spank her, but... Dustless rubbed his temples in frustration. He was speechless. The infinite dragon god Orpheus spanked the Great Red's butt. This was definitely the most explosive news of the century. Is it wrong? That's what I've seen in the human world. If they don't listen, they'll beat them, infinite dragon god Orpheus said with a confused look. At the same time, she made a fighting posture. So you learned it from an anthropologist. Dustless's mouth twitched when he heard that. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. Orpheus was indeed extremely naive. Aoo, aoo, ka ka ka. There was an unusual energy fluctuation and a crisp sound. Dustless raised his eyebrows slightly and looked towards the source of the sound. There was an unparalleled energy fluctuation that actually shattered the suppression of the bright god gate. When any living being is enraged, they will explode with even more power than usual. You have truly angered her. The Great Red is really going to reveal her ferocious side. The gigantic crimson dragon spread its wings and soared into the sky. The Great Red unhesitatingly released her true form, once again revealing her true form as a dragon. Her gigantic body blotted out the sky and covered the earth. No matter who it was, they only had one feeling in front of her. Insignificant. Help me deal with her. I'll lend you my power and we'll beat her together, Orpheus said in a serious tone. Orpheus said in a serious tone. It seemed that he was not satisfied with the spanking just now and wanted to do it again. Dustless's face darkened. Orpheus obviously wanted to see the world in chaos. As the strongest being in the entire world, the Great Red was spanked by Orpheus, who had once exiled her from the dimensional crevice. This was the greatest humiliation to her. Aoo, aoo, aoo. There was another hysterical dragon roar. The violent energy fluctuation came head-on. Dustless and Orpheus' hair stood on end from the wind. Looks like there's no way to negotiate. Staring at the Great Red's scarlet eyes, Dustless's pupils turned rapidly. He could guess that she was currently enraged due to Orpheus' provocation. Dustless's body erupted with high-density chakra. A monster that was even more terrifying than the Great Red appeared. The golden evil light illuminated the entire dimensional crevice. The mighty Tengu helmet and the thick and simple armor were filled with vicissitudes of life. Even though the two long swords were not unsheathed, they were already terrifying. The aura that this giant exuded was even purer than the Great Red's. There was only complete despair. That demonic aura that wanted to destroy the entire world made even Orpheus, who did not know much about the world, treat it differently. So strong. Orpheus spoke softly. At this moment, she was standing together with Dustless. They were both in the complete Kinsusanu. Hence, she could clearly sense how strong Kinsusanu was. Turning her head to look at Dustless, Orpheus blinked and muttered to herself, "No wonder he looked down on my strength. If he had such strength, I could have defeated that evil dragon too. Chakra is something that only I can enjoy. I can't lend it to you." Dustless shook his head when he heard that. He did not have the ability like Orpheus to lend his strength to whoever he wanted. Orpheus nodded and did not say much. Her black eyes flashed with a strange light, as if she had made up her mind to make some kind of decision. She had a serious expression on her face. Ayo, 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 ayo. At the same time, the Great Red, who did not believe in superstition, spread her wings and flew high. Her wings flapped vigorously, and a storm that could destroy the world instantly erupted from her body. Any creature that was blown by that whistling wind could be dismembered. Such a weak attack is useless against the complete Kinsusu. Facing the Great Red's angry attack, Dustless calmly responded. The complete Kinsusinu calmly pulled out the golden tachi of light. Chapter 1362. The strength or weakness of ninjutsu depends entirely on personal reasons. Dustless, who has experienced several worlds in succession, his complete form, Kinsusinu, not to mention Madara, even Kagaya, the ancestor of chakra, Dustless's current strength is more than 10 times stronger than her. Therefore, any ninjutsu is destined to be different from ordinary people in Dustless's hands, and even has a dimensional upgrade. Whoosh! Complete form Kinsusinu, under the control of Dustless's will, raised the terrifying long sword, and with a gentle wave, the storm was easily suppressed. Puchi! The front part of the katana of light swept a golden cold light, and it was unstoppable through the wind and waves. The storm was easily defeated, and the dead silent dimensional crack was restored to normal again. Whoosh! Not only that, the golden cold light rushed toward the huge body of the Great Red at an extremely fast speed. What a terrifying edge! Seeing this, the huge dragon eyes of the Great Red suddenly shrank, and a rare flash of fear flashed in her eyes, and immediately flapped her wings and turned away decisively. This pervert is too dangerous. However, Dustless seemed to be able to predict the future, and came in front of the Great Red in advance, and a violent chakra broke out in his body. Whoosh! Several long black rods were shot in 6 different directions, and around Dustless and the Great Red, a dark red, transparent enchantment suddenly appeared. So you can't escape, my lovely mount. Dustless smiled and immediately shouted, 6 red yang formation. In a narrow space, Dustless's complete form Kinsusinu and the Great Red were facing each other, and he and the Great Red were sealed in a certain range of space. Is strong, and all kinds of strange and powerful moves are stronger. I don't even have an advantage in all aspects. The Great Red's eyes were low, and her momentum was obviously not as broad as Dustless's. Even though the power of both of them is also infinite, Dustless has an overwhelming advantage in strength and power. Release Orpheus, and I'll be your mount. Lowering her posture, the Great Red said to Dustless, which is also a disguised show of weakness. So it's like this, Dustless frowned. Just as he was considering whether to trick Orpheus, he suddenly felt that he was being hugged by someone. The delicate little hand was soft, as if it had no bones. It was very tantalizing. I don't want to be your mount. That dragon can be your mount. I can. At the thought of this, the naturally naive Orpheus paused. After thinking for a while, he said, I can be yours, just like you and Gilifia, Lucifergus. You can touch me as you wish. F*CK. What the F*CK? You peeked at me. Wu Chun, who was the first to react, didn't have a happy expression on his face. Instead, he had a gloomy and sad expression on his face. What a tragedy it was to be peeked at while having sex. Was I too engrossed to notice Orpheus' existence? Dustless's face darkened, and 100,000 F*CK army jumped around in his heart. The Great Red was angry, and hot air came out of her huge nostrils. She opened her big mouth and breathed out a deadly wave of fire at the complete form Kinsusinu's head. Orpheus is too shameless. Again, what kind of deep hatred is there between these 2 female dragons? Also, Orpheus' appearance. Dustless glanced at Orpheus with a complicated expression, and saw that her eyes were full of light, and her hands were rubbing each other, as if she wanted to experience the feeling of the Great Red's perky butt. She's incurable. Dustless shook his head and looked at the incoming fire pillar calmly. He raised his right hand calmly, and a destructive ball condensed in front of his thumb. Ka. With the energy ball in Dustless's hand as the center, the surrounding void twisted rapidly, and a vortex appeared. This energy ball was like the mouth of a deep-sea spring, swallowing the surrounding space. The infinite dragon god Orpheus and the Great Red's eyes were attracted to it at the same time. This guy, the Great Red, was extremely depressed, and she could not help but complain in her heart. How many moves does he have that can tear or even shatter space? When he invaded the dimensional crevice just now, it seemed like he tore it apart with brute force. The Great Red felt very aggrieved. She had not done anything that offended the heavens. So why did the heavens send such a great demon to go against her? So powerful. Orpheus blinked her eyes, and she was a little more curious about Dustless's strength, origin, and identity. Wang Su's flash. As Dustless's voice fell, the golden energy ball stood out, and the moment it shot out, the light became countless times bigger. Boom, boom, boom. The golden light of destruction shattered the flame attack of the Great Red in an almost invincible manner, and the flames were shattered like raindrops by the void flash. Although it's called Wang Su's flash, under my unlimited infusion of Ryatsu, its power has been sublimated, and the essence of the void flash is transformed, and the power of Wang Su's flash is completely different. Dustless muttered to himself in an extremely calm tone. At the same time, he also realized that it was impossible to make the Great Red give up, and he could only temporarily control her by means of Jinjutsu. In this way, this boring farce would come to an end. The Rinnegan Sharingan stared at the eyes of the Great Red, emitting strange ripples, and the 9 Tomo also trembled, and the consciousness of the Great Red was quickly swallowed. Chapter 1363. Dustless's Rinnegan was completely different from others. Not only did it have powerful attack power and sealing technique, but it also had extremely dangerous illusion technique. Not knowing the ability of Rinnegan, the Great Red stared blankly at Dustless. Soon, she fell into the nightmare created by Rinnegan. Roar! A deafening snoring sound came from the sky. Looking carefully, the Great Red actually fell asleep. Phew! It's finally over. After removing Kinsusanu's huge body, Dustless sighed in relief. She really fell asleep? Orpheus stared at the Great Red's huge body and looked left and right. After seeing that she really fell asleep, she landed on her body without any warning. Could it be? Suddenly remembering Orpheus's strange behavior, Dustless's eyes twitched. He vaguely guessed what she was going to do and looked at Orpheus with a pained expression. Clap, 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 clap. Sure enough, after a while, a familiar sound came. Orpheus sat on the enormous body of the Great Red, waving her slim arms and beating the scales on the Great Red's body rhythmically. This guy, seeing such a scene, Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He had a clearer understanding of Orpheus's weirdness. In the dimensional crevice, there was no passage of time. Everything was still. After an unknown amount of time, the Great Red opened her eyes. Strange. Why did I become a human again? The Great Red muttered in confusion. Dustless sat in front of her with his back facing the Great Red. Just as he was about to ask something, she suddenly felt itchy on her butt. It was slightly swollen and slightly painful. Clap, 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 clap. The infinite dragon god Orpheus slapped the Great Red's, but with all her might. While slapping the corner of her mouth, she muttered, "In the human world, when a child makes a mistake, their parents will hit him like this. You evil dragon are so bad, I will definitely teach you a lesson." Seeing this, the Great Red almost spat out a mouthful of blood. He hurriedly turned around and kicked the infinite dragon god, Orpheus, away. I tried to stop her, but it was useless. Dustless shrugged, as if it had nothing to do with him, and pushed all the responsibility to Orpheus. It was not hard to see that the swollen buttocks of the Great One were all thanks to Orpheus. In Orpheus' words, who asked her to expel me from my hometown? This is my return. You too. Hearing this, Great Red flew into a rage. She clenched her fists tightly. She wanted to beat up Dustless, but she couldn't muster up the courage to do so. Dustless used his illusion again, and then Orpheus, the Great Red, was incomparably gloomy. He secretly cursed his bad luck in his previous life to have met 2 such strange jinxes in his next life. In any case, There's no need to be enemies with me. You have already become my spiritual beast." Dustless's shocking words caused Great Red's heart to turn cold. "In your dreams." Great Red's beautiful face was filled with anger, and her watery eyes were filled with refusal and resistance. Hearing this, Dustless just smiled casually, and then said mercilessly, "When you were asleep, I had already used Reincarnation Sharingan to control you and complete the spiritual beast title. It's useless to resist." Hearing this, Great Red's heart became even more dead and was filled with despair. "You shouldn't be a person of this world. Such a strong existence like you is simply what? Simply violating the rules of this world?" Dustless interrupted Great Red and asked, "As you said, I am indeed not a native of this world." Dustless was about to emit light, and his deep eyes seemed to be able to see through space. "The universe is vast and boundless. This world is just an insignificant, lonely boat among the countless worlds. To be honest, I've already experienced 3 worlds in a row. But unfortunately, perhaps because of my bad temper, those 3 worlds are destroyed by me in the end. I hope this world is not like that." Dustless quickly added, "It's time to go back." Standing up and stretching his body, Dustless's eyes that were still went berserk once again. "Divine might! Ka! The void was torn apart by an unknown force, and a huge black hole appeared. Both Orpheus and Great Red could feel that the other side of the black hole was the underworld. Such a strange move. Where did he get so many of them? Great Red was speechless, and her tone was sour. There was even a hint of envy in her gem-like eyes. As a member of the dragon race, she seemed to only have those few moves. Compared to Wu Chun, she was extremely poor and pedantic. "Feel free to go wherever you want. Anyway, when I summon you, you can just come out," Dustless said faintly. Just as he was about to step into the black hole, a spirit blocked his way. "There shouldn't be any grudges between us, right? Infinite dragon god Orpheus?" Dustless frowned as he looked at the naturally naive girl in front of him, puzzled. "Of course there is. I have decided to follow you from now on." Meeting Dustless's gaze, Orpheus said seriously. Her tone and expression were very calm, as if she was narrating something insignificant, completely ignoring Dustless's feelings. "What's the reason?" Dustless asked. She had already turned Great Red into a psychic beast, and the dimensional crevice was hers from now on. Orpheus had also obtained the piece that she had always wanted. Great Red suddenly curled her lips, as if she had seen through Orpheus' thoughts, and revealed Orpheus' secret. Chapter 1364. Dustless suddenly felt that these 2 little female dragons were extremely interesting. He blinked his eyes and asked, "According to my personal guess, the relationship between the 2 of you seems to be unusual. Is there some kind of connection?" The infinite dragon god Orpheus and the Great Red lowered their heads at the same time. In fact, when Orpheus was chased out of the dimensional crevice, Dustless was extremely curious. This was because the strength of the 2 dragon gods was almost the same. If they fought, it might cause the world to collapse. It was impossible for the Great Red to chase Orpheus away with brute force unless she risked the danger of the entire world being destroyed. Of course, there was another possibility. Perhaps Orpheus had deliberately left the dimensional crevice. According to Dustless's guess, although the possibility of this was extremely small, it was the most logical. "I've been in the dimensional crevice for too long. I just wanted to see the outside world, but you evil dragon took advantage of the situation to rob my hometown, and your hometown? Nonsense. You and I were born in the same period. You don't have the right to monopolize the dimensional crevice. The name of the infinite dragon god Orpheus is also not written in the dimensional crevice. You're talking nonsense." T. Orpheus, who had transformed into a human, and the Great Red were spitting at each other. They were fighting until their faces were red. Dustless didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he looked at the 2 dragon gods who had entered a catfight mode. He couldn't help but feel that the affairs of the world were unpredictable. Perhaps everyone in the world thought that these two were existences that would fight to the death. However, the scene in front of him had probably refreshed the world's understanding. Do as you wish. The two of them probably wouldn't stop anytime soon. Dustless shook his head and decisively turned to leave. The matter between these two little female dragons was not something he could participate in. The air in the underworld smells better. Just say that it's filled with the smell of decay and death. Looking down at the blue sky under his feet, the densely packed cities were especially small, like grains of sand. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Dustless's body swept out thousands of gorgeous rays of light, and then he disappeared. He charged straight toward the territory of the Gimli family. At this moment, the other side was in the midst of public discussion. You're saying that the guy called Dustless crippled Loki and his pet Fenrir? Did I hear wrongly? Let me repeat it again. A guy called Dustless crippled Loki and his pet Fenrir? The white-haired old man's eyeballs were about to pop out of their sockets. Yes, Sir Odin. The mature young lady nodded and answered seriously. When she answered, she also felt that everything she saw before was just an illusion. I saw it with my own eyes. I saw Dustless defeat Lord Loki. Lord Loki and Fenrir were both half dead, especially Fenrir. It's doubtful if she can survive. Losvia pursed her lips and answered seriously. What kind of monster is it? It's already a miracle for a person to be able to survive when facing Luo Shun and the god-killing wolf Fenrir alone. He was almost killed by Loki and Fenrir. What kind of monster is that? For what you said, he can use skills with light. Could he be Jehovah? The old muddle-headed Odin said in disbelief. The crowd stared with their eyes and mouths agape. Their breathing grew heavier. The head of the Supernatural Research Lab, Laius Gemengli, Junai Himajima, Kitten, Genova, and the others were all there. There was also Gilifia, Laius' mother, Vaini Lana, Demon King Sazax, and 2 other Demon Kings. If it's that guy, it sounds exaggerated and unbelievable, but one thing is for sure. He's the only one who could do such a thing. The fallen angel governor, a Sashal, who had witnessed Dustless's strength, said. He frowned and recalled, Dustless beat the White Dragon Emperor who was in Tyrannosaurus mode as easily as bullying a child. I personally think it's possible that he could beat Loki and Fenrir so badly. I think so too. He's very strong. Vaini Lana, who was Laius' mother, said with a smile in her eyes, After all, he's Laius' fiancé. It's necessary for him to be able to beat a god. Similarly, this is also the basic requirement for being my lover, Vaini Lana added in her heart. However, some were happy and some were sad. Some were happy and some were depressed. That pervert can't really be the main god of the angels, right? The demon king Seraphil, who is currently the Leviathan, said gloomily. She was once forcefully pushed down by Dustless and almost couldn't get up for a few days. This matter had become a knot in her heart. In her heart, she had already labeled Dustless as a must-kill. Now that he was so strong, how could Seraphil endure it? How could she take revenge in the future? Could it be that she could just let it go and watch Dustless show off in front of her? Absolutely not. All in all, let's talk about Dustless later. For now, let's sign a peace agreement, Lord Odin. The sharp-eyed topic showed signs of derailing. Sazax had to talk about business again. Compared to the alliance of several parties, this was a trivial matter. That's true. Odin nodded. Just as he was about to agree, an untimely sharp voice came. Old thief Odin, I didn't agree. Who allowed you to sign such a boring agreement? I firmly refuse to sign such an agreement. A blue light appeared in the space, and a huge magic circle appeared. A man with a cold and gloomy expression stepped out of it. Loki? Everyone frowned, but when they saw Loki, who was covered in injuries, they laughed. Chapter 1365. It was no wonder that everyone was laughing. Loki was covered in wounds, his face was swollen, and there were even bandages on some parts of his body. This kind of situation was normal for a human, but if the other party was a god, it was too funny. At the same time, Everyone understood that Losvias was telling the truth. Loki's injuries were proof that the culprit was dustless. Oomph! How dare you guys laugh at me? Loki was furious. That hearty laughter was like a slap to his old face. It stung. Idiot, if you go back now, I'll let bygones be bygones, Odin said in a powerful tone. As the main god of Norse mythology, Odin had the right to be arrogant. Although he was old, his strength was undeniable. Let bygones be bygones? How arrogant. I'll hold you accountable. Loki sneered. He was not afraid of Odin at all. Seems like it's more lively than I thought. A frivolous tone was heard. Then, in the center of the hall, a large amount of light came from all directions. Dustless's body was faintly discernible. The asterisk MNU. Why are you still alive? Loki's expression changed drastically. At the same time, he instinctively took a step back. He thought Dustless was dead. That's why he came to cause trouble. I didn't expect this unkillable cockroach to still be so popular. Could it be that the most powerful existence in the legends, the Great Red, is no match for this D******************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************Swoosh, swoosh. Dense magic bullets shot out from Loki's hand. His target was the golden light. Boom, boom, boom. Loud explosions followed. Dustless, who had been compressed into his human form, was inevitably blown to pieces. You bastard. The girls from the paranormal research department glared at him. Although they were sure that the godlike Dustless would not be killed, Loki was despicable. It was despicable for him to want to kill Dustless before he could transform. It was against the will of a god. However, Loki himself didn't care. The dignity of a god was no longer important to him. As long as he could get rid of this eyesore who had a deep hatred for him, dignity wasn't important. Everyone attacked together. Riaz looked around with her beautiful eyes. The members of the paranormal research department were showing off their prowess. They had gone through a lot of training during this period, and their strength had increased greatly. Lei Guang. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. The dazzling magic attacks all landed on Loki's body, but he was completely fine. In the face of the endless attacks, he did not dodge or evade. He only relied on the hardness of his body to withstand the insignificant attacks with a calm expression. I'm a god. You bunch of small fries want to hurt me? Do you think this is a comedy movie? How vulgar. Loki sneered disdainfully. His face was full of arrogance, and he was extremely arrogant. They can't, but what about me? Dustless's cold voice resounded behind Loki. He suddenly turned around and attacked Loki with a cold and merciless kick. Loki's body was immediately sent flying. The villa used for the gathering was even penetrated. You're just a loser, and you still dare to be so arrogant. Even if you want to cause trouble, you should know who you are. Dustless stared at Loki, who was kicked away, and suddenly suspected that this guy's head was broken. Last time, he let him go because he was chasing the Great Red. He thought that this guy could recognize his strength, but he didn't expect that this guy dared to take the initiative to provoke him. I'm thinking, what would happen if a god was killed? Dustless asked lightly. His words made everyone's expression change drastically. Even Syzax, who had been silent all this time, frowned slightly. Gulp, that's amazing. I didn't misjudge him. The offspring with him must be much better than Syzax and Riaz. Venerana's eyes were filled with lust, and her whole body exuded a seductive aura. Dustless showed his prowess and sent Loki, who was known as a god, flying with a kick. It was unforgettable. It was as if by following the man in front of her, the whole world was in her hands. At the same time, Sarah's heart was broken into pieces. She knew that it was impossible for her to take revenge. Loki was kicked to the point where he couldn't even tell his direction. If it were her, she wouldn't be much stronger. You be asterisk starred. What happened to my mouth? Loki's old face twitched violently. He found that he couldn't even speak clearly. It was as if someone had stuffed something in his throat. It was extremely difficult to call out Dustless's name. Idiot, haven't you realized yet? Your face is crooked from my kick. Ignoring Loki's hateful eyes that wanted to eat him alive, Dustless explained while mocking him. Don't worry, at most, you can't speak clearly. You can still eat. You won't starve to death. Hearing that, Riaz and the others couldn't help but laugh out loud. Their seductive looks hooked the worm in Dustless's stomach. His eyes gleamed as he stared at the group of beautiful women. I'm engaged to Riaz. I've already gotten her old lover, Venerana, and her sister-in-law, Gilifia. It would be a waste to leave her, the first wife, alone. With a decision in his mind, Dustless planned to take away Riaz's most precious thing after he dealt with Loki. They were already engaged anyway, and it wouldn't matter if their relationship took another step forward. Chapter 1366. Dustless looked at Riaz with a restless mind. Even though he had seen and even touched every part of her body, in the end, the last layer of membrane was still not torn off. This time, I must completely tear apart the barrier between you and me. Dustless smiled foolishly, as if he had fallen into endless reverie. Full of loopholes, Loki saw that Dustless was in a daze and immediately realized that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He gathered all the magic in his body and turned it into a large number of magic circles. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Every magic circle was shining and pulsing, and the destructive light was terrifying. The power of a single magic circle could easily destroy a green mountain, let alone hundreds and thousands of them. It was not difficult to see Loki's hatred for Dustless. How's this guy God? He's despicable and shameless, and now he's scheming. Riaz's people were furious. Dustless was floating in the sky, and no one knew what he was thinking. There was a smile on his face, and sometimes there was a wretched smile. Obviously, he had fallen into endless fantasy. Die. You were sent by the heavens to go against this god. Disappear with my hatred for you. As soon as he said that, the thousands of magic circles shot out a bright light at the same time. However, Dustless still did not react. Dustless, listen to me. Riaz, who was panicking, quickly shouted at Dustless. Her face was red, and she finally gritted her teeth. If you can defeat Loki this time, you can do whatever you want of me, and I won't resist. Gulp. This was the sound of nature, the words that Dustless had always wanted to hear, and finally pulled his thoughts out of his fantasy. He looked at the incoming flashes and curled his lips in disdain. I've said it before. Loki, you're just a child in my eyes. As soon as he said that, a large amount of chakra energy waves erupted from Dustless's body. Vroom, vroom, vroom. The silent earth suddenly trembled, and a blazing aura seeped out. This seems to be the temperature of magma. Everyone retreat quickly. Aware of the danger, Sazax ordered loudly. At the same time, he did not forget to retreat. Uchiha flame formation. A transparent barrier rose from the ground, sealing off the entire sky. The flame barrier trembled, emitting a huge destructive power. Anything that got close to it was destroyed, and even steel was melted into water. The scene was extremely horrifying. The flame barrier, which was several dozen meters tall, radiated a lethal temperature. Even from several hundred meters away, one could feel the scorching heat of the flame cage. If one was careless, they would be caught in the crossfire. Hua hua hua. As for those flashing magic bombs, they were even more miserable. Not to mention Dustless, who was behind the enchantment. The enchantment was evaporated before it could even touch it. Not only that, but Loki himself was also heavily injured. His whole body was black, and his pure white clothes were burned full of stains. His image was ruined. And what was even more hilarious was that Loki's hairstyle, which was considered good in front of him, was burned by Dustless until not a single hair was left. Loki's gorgeous head became bald. Yo, yo, yo. Why did Lord Loki become like this? It shouldn't be. Could it be? Our respected goddess Sama is cosplaying? I didn't expect you to have such interests and such a strong taste. You actually chose to dress up as a beggar. Seeing Loki's embarrassed appearance, Dustless joked with a smile. It's one thing for you to be shockingly strong, but even your mouth is so vicious. You're the only one who gets all the good things. God is really unfair. Loki said in a gloomy and depressed voice. He looked at his whole body, and it was indeed no different from a strange appearance. His trousers were burned, and his long black legs were exposed. He was also burned-bald, and his face was dark. He was indeed a serious beggar. Seeing this, Loki was furious. He was a dignified god, but he was beaten by Dustless into a beggar. His broken heart was broken even more thoroughly. All turned into powder. Hee. Although I'm no match for you, but ha, they're definitely no match for me. Loki laughed arrogantly. At this point, he had already given up on the idea of defeating Dustless because it was completely overconfident. There was no other way but to humiliate himself. So, Loki set his sights on Ryaz and the others. If he couldn't defeat the big one, he could bully the small one. This bastard has disgraced the Norse gods. Seeing this, Odin was so angry that his old face turned green. He had never seen a god as despicable as Loki, and he understood Loki's glowing eyes the best. He can't defeat Dustless, so he chose to attack his fiancée. What a despicable method. Asashel and the others frowned. They were extremely disgusted by the evil god Loki. This bastard was too shameless. Damn it. Dustless naturally noticed Loki's abnormality at the first moment, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. He. Your opponent is not me. Now it's a different person. Loki smiled mysteriously, and then he snapped his fingers very calmly. The bright sky suddenly turned dark, and a big silver wolf descended from the sky, opening his stinky mouth to bite Dustless. My opponent is Ryaz Jimenez and the others, and your opponent is Fenrir. No, it should be Fenrir who is holding you back. He is far from being your opponent, but the short time Fenrir is holding you back is enough for me to kill Ryaz Jimenez and her family. Loki thought confidently, but in the next second, the sky inexplicably began to rain blood. Pucci, Fenrir, who Loki trusted and used to stall for time, was instantly killed by Dustless. Chapter 1367. Blood was raining down from the sky, and the stench spread to every corner of the sky. Everyone looked at Fenrir, who was lying on the ground in disbelief. Fenrir, who had once swallowed a deity, was now killed by an exaggerated sword strike. Just how abnormal was Dustless' original body? This was not tofu that could be cut open in an instant. This was a god, a hungry wolf that had once swallowed a god. And it was such a deity that had devoured a deity, but now he was actually killed by Dustless in such an easy manner. That casual and simple appearance gave people the illusion that he was violently beating up a child. It was simply unbelievable, unforgivable. Loki was dumbfounded. Fenrir's body that had been split into two did not scare him away. Instead, it made Loki's heart ache. He clenched his teeth so hard that they were broken. You have to be buried with Fenrir, you damn bastard. Loki roared like a psychopath. His words revealed a hysterical brutality. This ferocious beast was completely enraged by Dustless's cruel means. His partner that he had spent all his time with was split into two. Loki's heart had already gone berserk. His hatred for Dustless and the others had also climbed to an unprecedented level. You still don't want to give up? Facing Loki's ferocious gaze, Dustless just pursed his lips and smiled. Go to hell. Loki roared crazily. His tone was a little sharp. Boom, boom, boom. His shrill voice echoed in the sky. Whoosh, whoosh. However, this guy said that he would tear Dustless into pieces and burn his bones to ashes, but his actions were despicable beyond imagination. He knew that he was no match for Dustless. So he turned into a ray of light and rushed towards Ryaz and the others. His speed in the blink of an eye was not any slower than the speed of light. Idiot, you are digging your own grave. Seeing this, the main god of Norse mythology, Odin, cursed in his heart. Capture Ryaz to threaten Dustless? Frankly speaking, this was a good plan, and it was the only way out for Loki at the moment. However, he had neglected the most important thing. Doing so would truly enrage Dustless, a super mythological beast that could destroy the world. GGGG ha ha ha. A series of strange laughter came out of Loki's mouth. Loki was so excited that he seemed to be dancing. Fenrir's hatred is because you women first. First what? Hoochie. The cold voice stopped Loki. His ferocious smile froze on his face, and he suddenly felt a stabbing pain in his arm. Loki was stunned and looked over subconsciously. Blood continuously spurted out from his left arm. This is only the beginning. I originally wanted to give you a dignified death, but you didn't cherish it. So who can you blame? Dustless asked back. At the same time, he took out a dark red, flaming katana. The blade was wrapped in a large amount of high-density flames, making it impossible for people to rely on it. Bankai remnant flame Tachi. Following Dustless's command, the blade of the Tachi changed once again, and all the flames disappeared. However, the tip of the blade only emitted a wisp of steam, and the raging flames seemed to have been extinguished. What's going on? Asashel, Sazax, and even Odin, the main god of the Norse mythology system, exclaimed with solemn expressions. What's wrong? The naturally naive kitten was confused. Not only her, but Riaz and the others were also confused. Why are they all so serious? Is there anything wrong? Hito Ichijo was also confused. He just felt that the weather had become hotter and was a little uncomfortable. As time went by, he felt more and more uncomfortable. That guy used some kind of powerful attack. The water in the entire world is mysteriously evaporating for some reason. Maybe it has something to do with that weapon. That bastard called Loki has really angered him. He's going to bring bad luck to the entire world. The Red Dragon Emperor's gauntlet emitted an emerald glow, and Drake's voice followed. This guy's going to destroy the world. Hearing this, Bing Tung took a deep breath and asked in disbelief. So you're saying that if Dustless and Loki fight, this world will collapse sooner or later? Should we leave the underworld in advance? Or else we'll be dragged into it. If there was danger in the underworld, they could just run away or stay away from the center of the battle. You idiot, you can feel it too. The water in your body is rapidly evaporating. Don't move. That scary man only needs to stand still, and the world will be destroyed. The water in our bodies will also rapidly evaporate, and we'll become dry corpses, Drake said unhappily. Hito Ichijo was too naive and ignorant. At the same time, the environment of the underworld was also changing rapidly. Everyone was shocked to find that the blood flowing in their bodies was disappearing at an accelerated rate. The moist ground was slowly drying up, and shocking cracks were appearing. The flowers and trees were also withering at an accelerated rate. The entire world was shrouded in a shadow. Some people even found out that they could slowly die before they could even figure out their enemy. Wu Qin's original body stood quietly in the void, holding the Zanka no Tachi in his hand. He didn't need to make any extra movements. Sooner or later, all the water in the world would evaporate, and the underworld might be completely destroyed. Loki was also terrified. He used Dustless as an example. Recently, he had felt the sharpness of Zanka no Tachi the most. The ugly charred blade could not be touched, or one would be burned alive. For a moment, he even forgot about the pain of losing his arm. Chapter 1368. The sharpness of Zanka no Tachi swept across the world. This was the oldest and most powerful Zanka no Tachi. Its temperature was enough to flatten the world. All the creatures in the underworld sensed that their bodies were evaporating rapidly. Even the so-called gods were no exception. They couldn't escape the curse of Zanka no Tachi. What's going on? Is this all because of that weapon? Loki's face twitched. To be honest, he didn't have the confidence to fight Dustless anymore. That's good stuff. If I had such a powerful weapon, even the infinite dragon god and the great red wouldn't be able to defeat me. Loki sobbed. His face was filled with greed. You can't even keep your life, and you still want Zanka no Tachi? You're right, the ignorant are fearless. Dustless's emotionless eyes looked at Loki. In his eyes, Loki was already a dead body. I'll take your weapon. That kind of weapon is only suitable for a god like me. In order to resist the pressure and impact of Zanka no Tachi, Loki's body was covered with dense magic arrays. He pounced on Dustless fiercely. "You want to die so fast?" Dustless shook his head. He waved Zanka no Tachi again. An array of hot sword energy whizzed out. Zanka no Tachi, north, ashes of heaven and earth. Loki's eyes were filled with excitement. He could already see Odin and the infinite dragon god trembling in fear when he swept across the world with Zanka no Tachi. Even when the blade slashed at him, he ignored it completely. "With so many magic arrays protecting me, it shouldn't be a problem." Loki comforted himself. He set up a large number of defensive magic arrays on his body, and he was confident that he could temporarily resist the sharpness of Zanka no Tachi. However, Loki immediately regretted it in the next second. Boom, boom, boom. A violent explosion suddenly sounded. Zanka no Tachi's blade tore apart the magic arrays on Loki's body in an invincible manner. Deadly flames came into contact with Loki's body. Poof! Loki's remaining right arm was mercilessly chopped off. Even his shoulder was fatally injured. A large part of it was burnt. Bang, bang, bang. Rocky, who had suffered a heavy blow, lost his balance and fell to the ground. Loki sneered uncharacteristically. "I curse you, and don't be naive. Stretch out your neck and accept your punishment. Any attack of yours is just a joke to me." Dustless spoke in an indifferent tone. Although he was incomparably arrogant and didn't put a god in his eyes, no one dared to stand out and oppose him. They just wanted this farce to end quickly, otherwise all of them might be buried with Loki. Zen Flame Tachi, West, Broken Sun, Prison Robe. The golden flames revolved around Dustless's body and did not disperse. Everything that came into contact with Dustless was vaporized by the high temperature of 1,500 degrees. In this state, Dustless was invincible, and all the attacks that came into contact with him were annihilated. Haha, that's all there is to it. No one has managed to kill me. Even though he had lost his arms, Loki still stood up and mocked Dustless. "I am a god. In front of me, you are nothing." Dustless continued to move forward and murmured, "You are still alive, and that is my mercy. The reason why I've kept you alive until now is to make an example out of those who want to harm Rias and Junai. This is what will happen to them. You will die with your limbs cut off." Dustless announced cruelly, and then darted in front of Loki and swung Zen Flame Tachi. Splat! Splat! Loki's legs were mercilessly cut off by Dustless, and he rolled on the ground in agony. "Disappear, Loki!" Looking at Loki, who was in agony, Dustless decided to send him to heaven and be a good person until the end. "Sir, please wait a moment." Seeing that Dustless was about to kill the god of his own pantheon, Odin's old face suddenly felt embarrassed. If Loki was killed by Dustless like a dog, how could the gods of Norse mythology survive in the future? "What's the matter? As long as it's not about letting Loki go, just say it." Dustless turned his head and glanced at Loki, labeling him as a must-kill. Ugh! Odin almost bit his tongue when he heard that, and the words that were about to come out of his mouth stopped abruptly. He looked at Dustless a little woodenly, and obviously wanted to say something to plead for Loki. "If you are pleading for Loki, then I am sorry. I can understand why he wants to kill me, but the despicable people who plotted against my women must suffer my sky-burning fire." Dustless still insisted, and there was no room for negotiation. "Arg, do you think I will thank you? Odin, you old bastard." At this moment, Loki's hysterical roar came, and he glared at Odin with fire in his eyes. If he did not insist on forming an alliance, none of this would have happened today. In the end, it was this old guy's fault for being reckless, and he had to admit that he was defeated by Dustless. After all, he was not strong enough, and he was really no match for Dustless's strength that could shatter mountains with a raise of his hand. "Even now, you still insist on your point of view? There must be no cure, Loki." After sighing, Odin closed his eyes, implying that he acquiesced to Dustless killing Loki. "Disappear this so-called god." 96 of Dow Breaker, 1 blade cremation. The blade-shaped flame rose from the ground, engulfing Loki in one fell swoop and completely erased him. Chapter 1369. The scene fell into a dead silence. Everyone looked at Dustless in fear and involuntarily took a few steps back. It was not that they were cowards, but this guy was just too brutal. He killed a god just like that. His swift and decisive means shocked everyone, especially after Dustless showed his original appearance with Zenka no Tachi. Everyone was afraid and in awe of him. Compared to Dustless, who was a superhuman with a cheat code, demons and gods were nothing. Let's end this here. Let's all get along in the future. Odin smiled, but looked a little forced. Well, it was true. A god of the Norse mythology system was killed right in front of him. He was indeed embarrassed. However, although he was unhappy, Odin could only swallow it and endure it. Firstly, it was Loki's problem to begin with. Secondly, Dustless was not hostile to the gods of the Norse mythology system. On the contrary, Odin had heard that the relationship between Lothveus and Dustless was barely okay. This was another relationship card, and the most important factor was that Odin had witnessed Dustless's godlike strength with his own eyes. He could not help but feel fear. It was as simple as beating up a child. "I'm sorry, Lord Odin. I didn't expect this banquet to turn out like this." Sazax walked over with an apologetic look. Was he really wrong? Of course not. He was just trying to make Loki feel better. After all, a Norse god had just died. No need to care. Loki deserved it. Odin waved his hand. Sazax did not need to care about such a small matter. At the same time, he insisted, "Let's sign the alliance agreement soon. Everyone must work together to deal with the threat of Calamity Mass." Deal with Calamity Mass? Hearing this, Dustless looked at Odin with interest. These words were equivalent to going against him. After all, whether it was the infinite dragon god Orpheus or the Great Red, they were all on Dustless's side. Now, they were all in the same trench. Forget it. A great person will not hold a grudge against a petty person like you. I won't lower myself to your level. Dustless did not say anything. He walked leisurely toward Riaz and the others, ignoring the prying eyes of others. The next morning, after yesterday's battle, Dustless, who was deeply fatigued, was in a deep sleep. He didn't even notice the person who had ambushed him. When he woke up the next morning, the big bed was already filled with people. "What's going on? We've been ambushed." Dustless was speechless when he opened his eyes. He realized that his left and right hands were held tightly by Isha and Riaz. His left and right legs were also being measured by Genova and Wisteria Arena. And the worst thing was that he found a beautiful body sleeping on his stomach. "This is you, Nye. What do you want? Are we mobilizing the entire club?" Dustless could not help but smile bitterly when he saw this. His being taken apart was not the worst part. He suddenly realized that his back was aching, and there were all kinds of lip marks all over his body. What the F***CK? If I knew you guys were going to ambush me, I wouldn't have fallen asleep. I didn't even feel anything. What a loss. Dustless grumbled in annoyance. At the same time, he gently shook off the woman's hold. Looking at the marks all over his body, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. He could only go take a bath again. Early in the morning, in the hot spring of the Gimli family, Dustless thought that there would be no one. However, he did not expect to see 3 vague silhouettes in the steam. "Forget it. I'll come back later." Dustless frowned and decided to leave. Era, we're not tigresses. As the son-in-law of the Gimli family, don't you think that you have to communicate with Riaz's sister-in-law and her mother, Lord Shun? A seductive and teasing tone came from the steam. Dustless could already see a perfect body. "Sorry, Andy. Why are you here?" Wu Chen's slightly bored face lit up. He found an unexpected figure, and his pupils widened a little in an instant. Her silver hair was like a white ribbon. It was very soft. Even though she had been soaked in the hot spring water, her perfect silhouette was impeccable. Her tall nose made her look even cuter. Especially her face, which was still blushing, looked very shy and attractive. One could not help but want to take a bite and taste her fragrance. This guy changes women too quickly. He used to look at me with those perverted eyes. Now, he ignores my existence and treats me like air. Riaz's mother, Vainilana, said with a sour tone. She turned to look at the silver-haired girl in front of her. Her eyes were filled with jealousy. The change is hard to accept. Gilifia nodded in agreement. It didn't make sense for a peerless demon to ignore her and Vainilana, who were barely covered in clothes. Ahem. Losves, I didn't expect to see you here. What a coincidence. Dustless calmly sat beside Losves. The girl's fragrance immediately entered his nose. I was a bit tired yesterday, so I came to relax. Honey would come too. Losves blushed. She wanted to put some distance between her and Dustless. But when she remembered the mission left by their main god, Odin, she could not help but have a headache. It was very troublesome. Losves finally compromised with the mission. Not only did she not put some distance between her and Dustless, she even purposely moved closer. Because they were so close, they could feel each other's body temperature and the touch of their skin. It cannot be helped. They were too close. This unusual action made Gilifia and Vainilana frown. A hint of displeasure flashed in their eyes. Chapter 1370. Lafia's face blushed like a ripe apple. Her body was still filled with a seductive fragrance. She seemed to have noticed the invisible hostility from Vainilana and Gilifia. Awkwardness flashed across her face. He inwardly exclaimed, "Sir Odin, the missions you give aren't easy to complete." A few hours ago, in Odin's room, the Norse main god Odin was sitting in front of the window. The bright sun shone on him. It was warm and comfortable. He was enjoying his tea. Standing beside him was none other than Rose Valles. "What do you think of Dustless, Lafia?" After a while, Odin opened his turbid eyes and stared at Lafia's face for a few seconds. Hearing this, Lothwise could not help but frown deeply. She said bluntly, "He's not bad, and he's very strong. The only flaw is that he has too many women." "Too many women? That's not a problem. That's the privilege of the strong," Odin said disapprovingly. In his eyes, this was not a flaw. It was just a small matter. Everyone loved beauty. The only thing that people didn't dare to compliment was that Wu Chen's heart was a little too broad. If all the women gathered together, they could form a reinforced company. Putting down the teacup in his hand, Odin said seriously, "I have an important mission for you. It's related to the survival of the Norse mythological system. Lord Odin, even if I die, I'll give you the mission." Lafia nodded seriously. She was so touched that she was about to cry. She did not expect Odin to value her so much that he would give her such an important mission. "Very good." Odin beamed a satisfied smile and said seriously, "You go and seduce that kid Wu Chen. With my vicious fiery gold eyes, I can see that he's interested in you. If you seduce him, you'll get twice the result with half the effort." Plop. Hearing this, Lothwise lost her balance and fell to the ground. Her beautiful eyes looked at Odin speechlessly. Her angry eyes were clearly saying, "I'm going to die generously. So you want me to seduce him? Lord Odin, what does the life and death of the gods in the Norse mythology system have to do with him? With your existence, is he stronger than you?" Lafia stood up and asked in confusion. Hearing this, Odin's expression of enjoyment instantly disappeared and was replaced with a solemn expression. "First of all, I'm already old. I'm not as good as the young ones. Secondly, even if I were to face him at my peak, it would probably be a one-sided annihilation. There wouldn't be any battle experience." Odin sighed. His tone was filled with melancholy. Time was unforgiving, and it was time for him to be buried in peace. There was no such thing as eternal immortality. Phew! In other words, Sir Odin is still confident in defeating Dustless. Hearing this, Lothwise revealed a joyful expression, but there was a faint dissatisfaction in her heart. "You've misunderstood what I meant." Odin rolled his eyes and smiled bitterly. He opened the window and said frankly, "I'm saying that the one who would be annihilated in the end is me, not Dustless. In other words, I'm not his match." Lafia's beautiful eyes widened. She could not help but pause and lower her head. Then why is he still so respectful when speaking to Lord Odin? Lafia asked in confusion. If Dustless's strength was far beyond Odin's, there was no need for him to respect him. After all, This was a world where the strong were respected. Maybe it's because I'm old, Odin said without hesitation. Then he snorted. Not everyone is like that idiot Loki, who thinks that he can look down on everyone just because he's strong. He deserved to be killed. That's why it's important to hook up with Dustless. The two of you are familiar with each other, and he has feelings for you. The future world is ever-changing, and there are countless strong people in this world. If you can become one of his wives, the Norse mythological system will have another layer of security in the future. Odin said seriously. Loki's incident had taught Odin a lesson. There were too many strong people in this world. One day, some ignorant bastard might provoke an unprecedented person. Loki was an example. If that person were to vent his anger on the Norse mythological system, Dustless's role as a relative would come in handy. Sigh. Lord Odin's mission is so embarrassing. Laufeyja, who was in the hot spring, was helpless. She and Dustless could even feel each other's skin rubbing against each other. The benefits are coming so soon? Sensing Laufeyja's strange behavior, Dustless was confused. No matter what, I'm a bastard who doesn't take advantage of her. Since she's already in my mouth, I'll take her first. Dustless smiled with joy. Suddenly, a light flashed in his mind. The aftereffects of yesterday's battle with Loki are coming. My head hurts, and my body is seriously exhausted. It's so uncomfortable. Dustless's face was pale, and his body was shaking. Then, under the gaze of Vainilana and Gylifia, he fell into Laufeyja's arms. This is too fake. Vainilana and Gylifia were speechless. They had witnessed the fierce battle between Dustless and Loki that day. Although Loki was called a god, he was beaten up by Dustless. He didn't suffer at all, and the aftereffects were nonsense. Chapter 1371. Hearing that, Dustless smiled and did not say anything, lying comfortably in Laufeyja's arms. Ayaya. Really, that bastard Loki really hit me hard. My body is still sore. The gods of your Norse mythology system are really strong. Dustless complained as he gently rubbed his sore arms and made a painful expression. His eyes rolled around Laufeyja, and finally, a sly expression flashed across his face. Staring at Laufeyja's dark red cheeks, Dustless deliberately laid in her arms and rubbed against her. Aya! Laufeyja exclaimed. The towel she used to cover the important parts of her body had been knocked off by Dustless's tumbling. Her body was exposed. Even so, remembering Odin's order, Laufeyja did not push Dustless away. This guy must be doing it on purpose. He was obviously suppressing Loki, and Loki, who is far away in the underworld, is crying in the toilet. Laufeyja was helpless. Remembering Odin's order, she could only let it be. She was doing this for the gods of the Norse mythology system. Not only that, but Laufeyja's delicate hands were also circling around Dustless, taking the initiative to massage his shoulders. She looked like a pretty girl from a humble family, making people want to take pity on her. This bastard, forgetting his old love when he has a new one, Vainilana complained. Doesn't she know that I'm her mother-in-law? Vainilana complained, her tone filled with jealousy. Doesn't she know that I'm her mother-in-law? How dare he do it with other people in front of me? Arrogant guy. I must tell Rias to punish you. Although her words sounded nice, Vainilana was actually helpless. She could only protest verbally. She believed that Rias was also helpless against Dustless's personality. It was impossible to tame this kind of person. That old guy Odin should have said something to you, right? Dustless, who was lying in Laufeyja's arms, opened his eyes and looked into her clear eyes. His bright eyes seemed to be able to see through everyone's thoughts. I want to hand it over to Lord Odin. Laufeyja grabbed a handful of silver and said bluntly, Lord Odin did want to hand me over to you. At this point, Laufeyja stared at Dustless with a slightly nervous expression. I'll lie. Another one who wants to marry me. Dustless made a distressed expression. He understood Odin's thoughts. Humans were like this. Once they were strong, they would be coveted by everyone. What are your plans? Rejected? Laufeyja asked. Of course not. Our relationship is so close. How could I let you go to that rotten old man Odin's place to suffer? Dustless put on a don't worry expression and said with bad intentions, "However, having more people means more mouths to feed. Our family's expenses have long been seriously over the limit. When the time comes, I might be forced to work outside by Junai. As the initiator, shouldn't you compensate me now?" Staring at Lasvia's voluptuous body, Dustless's smile was extremely perverted. "Ahem, you two should at least pay attention. Don't treat me and Lady Venelana like air, especially since you are Ria's fiancé. You should pay more attention to your image." Gilifia stood up and scolded Dustless, her face serious. This woman is really unreasonable when she's in work mode. Dustless looked at Gilifia in confusion. He was impressed by her professionalism. It was not easy to be in work mode, no matter the time and place. However, it was useless against Dustless. Not only that, but he even teased, "Miss Gilifia, could it be that you're jealous of Lathias? If you don't mind, you can use my legs." In your dreams, Gilifia's face flashed with anger. Dustless's teasing gaze made her uncomfortable. Her face was as red as an apple, almost dripping blood. "You are now the son-in-law of the Gimli family. You represent the Gimli family's image," Gilifia reiterated solemnly. "This woman is always making things difficult for me. I have to teach her a lesson." Dustless's ears were about to grow calluses from Gilifia's nagging every day. Dustless's eyes flashed with a smug smile. His powerful mental force rushed into Gilifia's mind. "Do you need a back rub? This is one of my responsibilities as a maid." Gilifia's words were shocking. Gilifia's expression changed instantly. Her stern expression was replaced by a gentle one. Her gaze towards Dustless was also filled with gentleness. Dustless used an illusion to change Gilifia's vision, making her think that he was Sizax. "Gilifia, are you not feeling well? Or are your eyes playing tricks on you?" Riaz's mother, Venelana, frowned. This was unbelievable. Gilifia usually avoided Dustless as much as she could, so why would she help him rub his back now? "I'm a little tired after working the whole day. I'm very grateful that you're willing to rub my back," Dustless replied with a smile. Only an idiot would refuse such a thing. "Let's go together, Losvia." Ignoring her panic, Dustless hugged her without warning and whispered, "Gilifia wants to rub my back, but I'm used to lying on my stomach. If I sit, my back will hurt. Damn it, there's no place for me to lie down, so I'll have to borrow your body. Let me lie down." Without asking for Lasvia's permission, Dustless put her down on the ground and climbed up. Their bodies overlapped. Chapter 1372. Latvia stared blankly at the shameless Dustless. Her head was spinning, and she was completely dumbfounded. Her mouth was wide open as she stared at Dustless, who was lying on top of her. Latvia could feel that her proud cleavage had been squashed into a meat patty by Dustless. But she could not care less about that at this moment. How dare he let Riaz's sister-in-law, Gilifia, scrub his back in front of mother-in-law Venelana? And more importantly, he used me as a cushion. Even Lolth did not know how to express her emotions in this situation. This guy was simply a peerless demon king who was not afraid of anything. Not only did he do whatever he wanted in front of mother-in-law, he even winked at Venelana and molested her. Latvia gave him a thumbs up and sighed. "Not bad. Very comfortable, Gilifia, as expected of my maid." Dustless smiled and praised, completely ignoring Latvia's stupor. He laughed in his heart. "So what if I'm like this?" Even if Sizax himself and Riaz's old man saw it, they wouldn't dare say anything. My fist is the biggest. He was just like the evil god Loki, who had been killed before. He was arrogant and did not care about morality. The only difference was that Dustless was far stronger than Loki. Time passed quickly, and before he knew it, he had fallen asleep under Gilifia and Latvia's careful care. This caused Venelana, who was at the side, to blow her beard and glare. She lowered her feet and stomped her chest, feeling indignant. 7 days passed in the blink of an eye. It was close to evening when it was close to night. Dustless and the people from the Paranormal Research Department went out for a walk. They strolled in the fresh air of the dense forest, filled with the natural fragrance of oxygen. It was refreshing and energizing. How rare. You actually came out for a walk with us. Riaz looked rather surprised because Dustless looked like a lazy person. He would not even exercise after a meal, let alone take a walk. Sleeping after eating was the most realistic portrayal of Dustless. Don't make it sound so bad. After all, I'm your fiancé. You have to protect my image, especially when there are other people here. Dustless looked at Riaz unhappily. Junai and Aisha were also there. As for the other girls, they were all combative people who liked to train. Era, what do you mean by other people? It seems that Lord Shan is treating us as outsiders. Could it be that our relationship is not close enough? I'm so sad. Are you sad too, Aisha? Junai's tone was gloomy, filled with hidden bitterness. However, there was a smile on her face, as if she was teasing Wuchen. Yes, Aisha is sad too. Disappointment flashed in her gem-like eyes. Aisha nodded and said sourly, "Ever since Dustless became the fiancé of the department head, the number of times we spoke could be counted on one hand. Our relationship has fallen. In this world, Dustless is Aisha's most important family member." Then, Aisha locked her gaze on Dustless's face, as if she was afraid that he would run away. "That's your illusion. Why would I abandon you?" Dustless gently flicked Aisha's forehead. He rubbed her long blonde hair and comforted her. He rolled his eyes at Junai. The latter just shrugged and had an expression that said it had nothing to do with him. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Suddenly, the dark forest lit up, pulsating with an unusual light. A beautiful girl in revealing clothes walked out of the light slowly. Her every move exuded charm. She had cute cat-like ears, and her misty eyes were filled with lust. She was a living demon. "So it's you, Black Song of Taching. You're finally here? I guess you're planning to betray the White Dragon Emperor Wally." Dustless was very calm. It was the complete opposite of the three girls who looked like they were about to face a great enemy. Maintain the formation. Junai is in charge of air support. Aisha is in charge of... These are all superfluous. There's no need for that. You three can go back. Leave her to me. Dustless glanced at Riaz. Seeing her slightly resistant face, he smiled and said, "Don't you believe in my strength? You guys will only discourage me if you stay here. Who knows, Disaster Mass might be plotting something against the underworld. Quickly tell your brother Sizax about this, and let him prepare in advance to deal with any changes." "I know. You have to be careful." Riaz nodded silently. Finally, she took a deep look at Black Song of Taching. Her cold eyes seemed to be warning her not to do anything rash. "Oh, don't worry. Although he's very handsome, I won't have children with him." Black Song of Taching teased her playfully, purposely angering Riaz. This guy really knows how to rub salt into my wound. Dustless frowned. He knew that Black Song of Taching was doing it on purpose. His goal was to drive a wedge between him and Riaz. "Oomph." Riaz only snorted softly. She then glared at Dustless fiercely and left. Women are indeed stingy. Dustless rubbed his head speechlessly. He felt like he was being attacked, even when he was lying down. "Black Song of Taching, it's been 7 days since you said last time. What's your decision? Do you want to join my faction, or continue to stay with the White Dragon Emperor Wally? I hope you don't make others feel like you're a scapegoat. Otherwise, you might not be able to see your sister for the rest of your life." Chapter 1373. Dustless's clear eyes stared at Deshang He Gu. Although her combat power was not bad, it was useless to Dustless. The reason why he tried so hard to rope in Deshang He Gu was because she was Kitten's sister. Another reason was that when White Dragon Emperor Wally knew that his subordinate had betrayed him, he would definitely have a constipated expression. "I'm sorry, I thought about it. Your condition. I'm afraid I can't agree." Deshang He Gu gathered her courage and said. Her eyes were filled with determination. "You actually rejected it? That's really surprising." Dustless said in surprise. He did not expect Deshang He Gu to reject such generous conditions. At the same time, he could not help but be curious about why Deshang He Gu rejected him. In terms of potential and strength, Dustless completely defeated White Dragon Emperor Wally. The two of them could not be compared at all. To be honest, White Dragon Emperor is indeed not as good as you, Desheng Gu said seriously. White Dragon Emperor Wally, who had entered Turek mode, was beaten up by Dustless without any dignity. He was like a clown being teased without restraint. Then why did you reject me? Dustless expressed his deep confusion. He then stared at Desheng Gu's determined little face and seemed to have realized something. He could not help but ask in a strange tone, "Is Wally more handsome than me? Are you kidding me?" Puffed. Desheng Gu pursed her lips and laughed. She was shocked by Dustless's monologue. She quietly looked at Dustless's gloomy little face. She was even more confused about Dustless. So what if he is more handsome than you? Is there a need to show an expression as if he had met his father's murderer? You have misunderstood. I rejected your condition because we are disaster mass. Desheng Gu gave an answer that made people frown. I see. I understand what you mean. After thinking for a few seconds, Dustless suddenly understood and asked jokingly, "Do you think that my background is not strong enough? The boss of disaster, Orpheus, is the infinite dragon god, and I'm indeed a general without any backing. I even have to rely on someone else?" Desheng Gu was silent upon hearing this and did not answer. But it was clear that she meant this. Silence was equivalent to admitting that Dustless was indeed nothing to the powerful mass of disaster. If she knew that the infinite dragon god is the Great Red is also my mount, I wonder what kind of expression she would have. How exciting. Dustless had a strange expression on his face. At the same time, he suddenly felt several sharp auras locking onto him. He looked up and saw a powerful magic circle flashing behind Desheng Gu. There were countless magic light bullets around him. You want to fight me? You should know the difference between us. Dustless asked calmly. Back then, she had effortlessly suppressed the beautiful monkey. Gu of Desheng was also present at that time. If Dustless had not let the two of them go, they would have met in the underworld by now. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Gu of Desheng Gu was unmoved. He did not even answer. The only response to Dustless was the dense magic light bullets. Bang, bang, bang. His body was blown into pieces. He was extremely weak. Only the lower half of his body was left. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The part of his body that was destroyed suddenly flashed with a large number of photons. Then it condensed into a new body of Dustless. From his head to his abdomen, all of them were transformed in sequence. You dare to fight me and even shatter my body. TSK, TSK. Even if you're little cat's sister, I'll still punish you severely. What to do when a woman is disobedient? It was very simple. He would use his absolute strength to shatter her confidence and trample on her dignity until it was worthless. This was Dustless's philosophy. It did not matter if you were a man or a woman. He would shatter your dignity first. His eyes focused on the magic circle behind Gu of Desheng Gu. Dustless's eye power began to go wild. He instantly shattered and destroyed the dazzling magic circle. Heavenly reflection. The bright light was instantly swallowed by the dark flames. It was almost extinguished in the blink of an eye. So simple. Even though she had a certain understanding of Dustless's strength, Gu of Desheng Gu could not help but be dumbfounded. According to her thoughts, even if she could not defeat him, she could still hold on for a while. It would not be such a one-sided situation. It is indeed very simple. If it were not for my mercy, your head would have fallen to the ground by now. A ghostly voice appeared behind Gu of Desheng Gu. It carried an unparalleled dominance. That's why you should be thanking me seriously now and not standing there in a daze. Dustless blew cold air into Gu of Desheng Gu's ear to prove his existence to her. Otherwise, Gu of Desheng Gu would have been painstakingly searching for traces of Dustless. Dying, Gu of Desheng Gu's body trembled as if she had been electrocuted. Immediately, her eyes flashed with brutality. Her fingers carried a sinister cold light as they attacked Dustless's face. Still not giving up? Dustless raised his eyebrows slightly. His gaze was cold. He also let go of the grudge in his heart. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. When you attack me, you're my enemy. There's no need to show mercy. Some of Bingtong City's tricks are really good, especially when dealing with women. It's simply godly. The palm of his hand contained boundless strength, and an awe-inspiring energy wave struck towards touching Haegu. The kimono she was wearing instantly burst open, revealing her smooth and delicate body. You bastard! How could you use such a despicable method? Touching Haegu was so angry that her face turned pale. She looked at Dustless, who had an evil smile on his face. She suddenly felt that although the man in front of her was a human in name, he was even more terrifying than a real demon. Compared to Dustless, a demon like Ryeth was an angel into Shanghaig's eyes. Only Dustless, who didn't play by the rules and had no bottom line, could be considered a demon. Chapter 1374. The girl's ear-piercing and panic screams echoed in the silent forest. The frightened birds flapped their wings and flew away. Occasionally, the wild beast that passed by would show a greedy expression. However, when they quietly approached, they would hate their parents for not giving birth to them with 2 more legs and retreat. What do you want? I'm Kitten's sister. Don't mess around. Otherwise, she will be sad. You don't want to see her cry for me, right? For some reason, even though Dustless did not release his killing intent, Touching Haegu was still stared at by his calm eyes. His soul was chilled and his heart was pounding. Your Kitten's sister? Not bad. However, please don't forget that you are also our enemy, one of the members of Disaster Group. Dustless curled his lips and said disdainfully. Now that he knew he was Kitten's sister, where was he just now? You? Touching Haegu was uncomfortable with Dustless's words. He simply said shamelessly, if you do something unfriendly to me, Kitten will, I'll repeat it again. You are our enemy now. Even if I do something that goes beyond human morality, I think Riaz and Kitten will understand my difficulties. Dustless said casually. What he meant was that he could do anything. Understand your difficulties? Hearing this, Touching Haege's face darkened. What difficulties do you have? You don't have to take off my clothes, even if you have difficulties. Especially when Wu Chun lied without blushing or panting, it made Black Song angry. He was like an iron bucket that could not be swayed by oil and salt. He would not listen to anything. Miss Ego, what's your choice? Do you want to join us, or join us? Dustless stared sneakily at Touching Haegu, whose clothes were not even covering her body. Her clothes were all destroyed by Dustless. Now, she was just a white body. The important secret parts were also revealed at a glance. Dustless let out a dark and wretched smile. His eyes were filled with evil intent. He purposely oppressed Touching Haege's nerves. Gulp! The Shanghaig's pretty face was as pale as paper. Although she was bold and unrestrained by nature, and didn't mind finding an outstanding and powerful person to happily make babies with, the script in front of her was completely different from what she had imagined. Even if you take away my body, you can't take away my heart. You're the best. I believe that love grows with time. Besides, does it have anything to do with me whether I can get your heart or not? Dustless said with a wave of his hand. He deliberately put on a hungry look as he slowly walked towards Black Song. The powerless Touching Haegu was also forced under the tree roots. I have 108 tricks. Even if you pass out, I can easily revive you with my healing technique, so you don't have to worry about... Shut up. I agree to your conditions. Touching Haegu, who could not take it anymore, finally compromised. His gaze was dim as he said, I agree to your conditions. After leaving White Dragon Emperor Wally's place, I will be your comrade. No, I will be your subordinate. Hearing this, Dustless deliberately put on a wretched expression. He took off his jacket and threw it to Black Song, saying, I've been waiting for you to say this. Black Song did not care about Dustless, who was complaining. He quickly took Dustless's clothes to prevent himself from being exposed. I heard that you killed Loki. Black Song's expression changed. He looked at Dustless with a gaze of worship. After all, The strong were respected in this world, and powerful people were sought after. Yeah, that kid didn't know what was good for him. So what if I killed him? At first, I thought that the gods in this world were very strong, at least at the same level as Kagaya and the others. However, Loki's performance was very disappointing. To be honest, he was far from the god I expected. It felt like he was deceiving the world. Lying on the soft grass and looking at the bright moonlight, Dustless said with a waning heart. His tone was melancholy, as if he was fighting for justice for the gods he had met. He always felt that the gods in this world were pitifully weak. Blacksong was choked by Dustless's words. He said bluntly, "It's not that Loki is weak. As a god, his strength is naturally extraordinary. In the end, it's that you're so strong that it's beyond the limits of his knowledge." What I don't understand is, at this point, Blacksong stared at Dustless's cheeks and asked doubtfully, "I should be useless to you. Why are you so obsessed with me? Didn't I say it before?" Dustless glanced at Blacksong in dissatisfaction and repeated, "It would be best if the other subordinates of White Dragon Emperor, Wally, jumped ship. I'm really looking forward to Wally's constipated, angry face that has nowhere to vent." As long as he thought of White Dragon Emperor Wally's expression of, "I'm second to the heavens," Dustless wanted to immediately fly over and give him a good beating. At the same time, he wanted to step on Wally's face a few times. Just for this? Hearing this, Blacksong's mouth twitched. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. What kind of mentality was this? In order to see others suffer, he actually did such a thing that harmed others without benefiting himself. Blacksong had a new understanding of Dustless. He was as willful as a child. However, it's not bad to join your camp. At least I can be with my Kitten every day. At this point, Blacksong had a satisfied smile on his face. What a dishonest fellow. Dustless glanced at Blacksong indifferently. It was because he understood her nature that Dustless took her in. In fact, Blacksong cared a lot about Kitten in his heart. He just did not say it out loud. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, unusual ripples appeared in the sky. Chapter 1375. Light flashed in the sky. Judging from the outline, it should be a magic circle. The light was shining and embellished with a strange light. The void within the magic circle was severely distorted. Then, a weirdly dressed person rushed out from it. He was wearing armor and had a hairpin on his forehead that no one had ever seen before. Generally speaking, it looked more like the Golden Hoop incantation. He was also floating in the sky on a cloud. Other than that, he was also carrying a golden staff. Only Wally's subordinate can dress so comically. "Beautiful monkey, you're just a defeated opponent. You actually dare to come to me. Did your strength increase recently, or did you become more reckless?" Dustless said disdainfully as he carefully observed the black dot in the sky. His words were full of contempt. "Do? Sigh." The Shanghai goose sighed lightly. The beautiful monkey's strength was actually not bad, but compared to Dustless, it was not worth mentioning. Not to mention him. Even if the beautiful monkey's boss Wally came, he could only nurse a grievance when encountering the Devil King like Dustless. "Blacksong, you? Why are you here?" Beautiful monkey's voice was amplified several times. His expression was also a little stiff. "Don't worry about Blacksong. Tell White Dragon Emperor Wally that she..." Ignoring Blacksong's shock, Dustless directly pulled Blacksong into a bad situation. He also ignored Blacksong's dull eyes and pressed his dry lips toward Blacksong's face. Smack! Blacksong's eyes were dull. His pupils were dark and empty. He was like a machine sizing up Dustless, who had a slightly arrogant smile on his face. He was instantly furious. For some reason, he vaguely saw the teasing in Dustless's eyes. His heart was filled with disappointment. "See, this guy is mine from now on. Hurry up and get Wally out of here." Dustless waved his hand. His tone was full of pride. Tricking a person's most trusted subordinate was the most successful thing. "What did you say?" As expected, Beautiful Monkey's body shook. He floated in the sky and looked down at the silent black song of Taching. He immediately understood that Dustless was telling the truth. Silence was a silent acknowledgement. Black Song, what do you think will happen to Wally if you do this? He will lose all face. The beautiful monkey's hoarse voice was filled with reproach and a hint of warning. Don't forget Wally's identity. Even if you're not as good as him now, you can still. Can you surpass me in the future? A voice without warning resounded through the sky. The beautiful monkey was startled, but discovered that Dustless had disappeared without a trace. Do you know the biggest difference between us? A cold voice came from the front. The beautiful monkey looked up. At some unknown time, Dustless had already appeared in front of him. He only has the great red in his eyes. My goal is the vast universe. First of all, he is already lost in terms of goals. For Valerie, the difficulty of defeating me is no less than defeating God as a human. So you can understand the difference? TSK. Looks like you can't understand. Humans really can't communicate with animals like monkeys. Glancing at the gloomy expression of the beautiful monkey, Dustless knew that he wasn't listening. Grow and stretch, wishful staff. The iron staff that was as thin as a willow branch suddenly multiplied in size and finally turned into a towering pillar that smashed towards Dustless. Naive. Glancing at the beautiful monkey whose face was full of hatred, Dustless gently shook his head and immediately rode on the light. His body seemed to be transparent as he directly ignored the existence of the wishful staff. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, he arrived in front of the beautiful monkey. The sky doesn't suit you. Sleep on the ground for a while. A large amount of light gathered under his feet. Dustless greeted his face with a kick. Light speed kick. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The severely injured, beautiful monkey suddenly lost his balance. The somersault cloud under his feet was also destroyed by the powerful force of the light speed kick. Finally, the beautiful monkey fell to the ground powerlessly. Boom, boom, boom. The huge forest was destroyed because of the impact of the beautiful monkey. A huge pit appeared, and the lush green forest became a disaster area. You're too weak. You don't even have the qualifications to make me take you seriously. The sarcastic tone suddenly mocked the beautiful monkey. Dustless's mind waned. Hateful, I was obviously defeated by this guy last time. I've already entered the training and even asked Orpheus for help. Why am I still defeated by the same move? The beautiful monkey's eyes were scarlet. In front of Dustless, he only felt that he was a clown. The other party could trample on him at will, and it was just a casual and simple move. You only trained for a few months, and I have been increasing my strength for hundreds of years. It's normal that you can't beat me. Traversing 3 worlds, including the one in front of him, it was already 4 worlds. Dustless's strength was improving all the time. You want to surpass me, who has experienced countless life and death struggles for hundreds of years in a few months. Naive. Dustless's words were filled with endless contempt. His hundreds of years of hard work was surpassed in a few months. He might as well die. Don't be too proud. Dusting off the dust on his body, the beautiful monkey still gritted his teeth and stood up. White Dragon Emperor Wally was his close friend. At this time, he must support White Dragon Emperor and must not cower. You don't know the meaning of death. Seeing this, Dustless's eyes flashed coldly. He lifted his thumb with a cold gaze, and a high-density destructive light beam gathered in front of him. Laser shot. As soon as his voice fell, the light beam whizzed out. The armor that the beautiful monkey was wearing was as thin as a cicada's wing. It was as fragile as paper and couldn't withstand a single blow. It was easily penetrated. Poochie, a charred hole appeared in the beautiful monkey's heart. It was about the size of a thumb, but the power was not to be underestimated. His entire body was penetrated. Chapter 1376. Beautiful Monkey was in unbearable pain. He didn't expect Dustless to be so strong. His strength was boundless. He had trained hard for a while, but it was useless against Dustless. He was just asking for humiliation. It was as difficult as ascending to heaven to fight against Dustless. Although my body isn't that strong, It's not that weak either. He easily destroyed my armor with a raise of his hand, and even penetrated my body. The beautiful monkey was incomparably shocked. For a moment, even the pain was thrown far away. Having such a strong enemy like Dustless was simply everyone's nightmare. Even if he was still alive, he would still be living in fear. Shoo, shoo, shoo. A sharp explosion sounded, and beautiful monkey suddenly felt that the world in his eyes was extremely dazzling. Raising his head, he saw that Wu Chen's raised shining foot was already aiming at his head. Seeing such a scene, beautiful monkey revealed a carefree smile. Sometimes being killed was also a kind of relief, especially when you knew that you couldn't defeat the enemy. You would live in a nightmare forever. Death was the wisest choice. However, he was destined to be disappointed. Don't show such an indifferent expression. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Dustless shook his finger and revealed a don't worry expression. It's not good to fight and kill. You'd better live peacefully. At least help me pass a few words to your master. The light condensed on the bottom of his foot disappeared, and his right foot landed on the ground again. What do you mean? Beautiful monkey asked in a hoarse voice. If he could, he would rather die. Nothing. I just feel that for people like you, rather than letting you die and be relieved, it's better to let you live in a nightmare forever. Dustless's mouth revealed a devilish, cold smile. Tell Wally that he must work hard. With such a valuable enemy like me, if he doesn't have any motivation, he will have no way out in the future. This guy is so ruthless. Darksong's beautiful eyes flashed with realization. She immediately understood Dustless's intention. He wasn't being merciful, but he was silently telling White Dragon Emperor Wally, your companions' lives are in my hands. If you don't want them to be killed, then work hard. This was to stimulate Wally to abuse himself crazily. You bastard, kill me if you have the guts. The beautiful monkey's expression changed. He also understood Dustless's scheme. Dustless wanted to use him to provoke Varley. His method was despicable and sinister. You don't have a choice. Dustless laughed sinisterly. At the same time, he looked towards Deshang and Hei-Gu, giving her a meaningful glance. Phew. Helplessly, Black Song could only do as he was told. After all, Dustless was his current boss. Moreover, he was eccentric and unpredictable. If he offended him, he would not be able to bear the consequences. Dustless decisively opened the magic array used to travel through time and space, and then kicked it in a special mysterious space. A blue light flashed in the sky, and the battered and exhausted beautiful monkey stepped out from it. White Dragon Emperor Wally frowned and asked in confusion, how did you end up like this? Who hurt you? Black Song hasn't returned yet? Wally's eyes flashed with hostility. He actually valued his companions. It's that guy called Dustless. Black Song won't be coming back. Dragging his tired body to sit on the ground, the beautiful monkey said helplessly, she has joined Dustless's camp. From now on, she's our enemy. Although he knew that these words were a big blow to Wally, the beautiful monkey still felt that it was necessary to make it clear. Ka. The ground under White Dragon Emperor Wally's feet suddenly burst open. His body erupted with an extremely oppressive aura. He had always been the one to tease others. When had anyone dared to tease him like this? How's that guy called Dustless's strength recently? Your strength has improved a lot recently. Even if you can't beat him, you shouldn't lose too badly. Wally asked in a hoarse voice. His stern tone seemed to be looking for Black Song and Dustless to settle the score. Recently, he and the beautiful monkey had been training themselves crazily. Their strength was completely different from before. To be honest, last time he deliberately teased me, so he fought a few more moves with Dustless. As a result, he didn't play with me this time. He only used one move to severely injure me. The beautiful monkey's tone was extremely depressed. He lowered his head in shame and did not dare to look at Wally's eyes. In fact, Dustless only used Lightspeed Kick to severely injure him. The remaining laser was completely superfluous. To put it bluntly, he deliberately disgusted him. Perhaps he saw that he was pitiful and deliberately rewarded him with another move. Looks like the matter of him killing Loki is true. Until now, White Dragon Emperor Wally had still calmed down. Although he was extremely sullen in his heart, he could not even restrain his own subordinates. In the end, Dustless had taken advantage of him. Thinking about it, the blood in Wally's body was boiling. A gush of old blood rushed to his head and was about to vomit. The beautiful monkey, who had always been flamboyant, was unusually well-behaved. When he saw that White Dragon Emperor Wally did not go berserk, he said, "It's impossible to surpass him with pure effort. After all, that guy can kill gods. This sentence was like a thorn that deeply stabbed White Dragon Emperor Wally's self-esteem. That's right, Dustless was already strong to the extent that he could kill gods. But what was he doing? Dustless's ridicule suddenly appeared in his mind. He did not know why, but Wally suddenly felt that it was too appropriate. In my eyes, you're simply a child who has not grown up. Chapter 1377. Staring at White Dragon Emperor Wally, who was pounding his chest and stamping his feet in anger, Monkey felt helpless. Both of them were members of the Misfortune Squad and happened to be Dustless's enemy. They deserved to be beaten up. How about? Monkey seemed to have thought of something as his eyes flashed and suggested, how about we let the infinite dragon god Orpheus deal with him? If it's Orpheus, she can definitely defeat Dustless. After all, Orpheus had unlimited power. Maybe, but Wally turned his head and coldly glanced at Monkey as he coldly rejected. But that guy is my enemy. This is my personal matter. Orpheus has no right to interfere. As expected, hearing this, Monkey could only smile bitterly. He was not surprised, because this was the arrogant White Dragon Emperor. No one could control his will, and no one could interfere with his personal matters. Speaking of which, I haven't seen Orpheus recently. Wally lowered his head and thought about something as he recalled Orpheus' recent strange behavior. That guy couldn't have gone to find trouble with the Great Red, right? Monkey was bored and smiled. I don't know either. White Dragon Emperor Wally expressed that he did not know either. He then pondered for a moment and said, "If that's the case, let's go to the dimensional crevice and have a look. I also want to see the legendary Great Red." When talking about the Great Red, Wally's eyes shone with ambition. He wanted to defeat the Great Red and become the White Dragon Emperor. Although Dustless had an accident, his dream had never changed. Inside Riaz's villa, the members of the Supernatural Research Department were clearly divided into two groups. Dustless and Taching Hage were isolated, while the other group, led by Riaz, looked unfriendly. Ayaya, there's no need to be so cautious. The atmosphere is so gloomy that I can't even catch my breath. Dustless was the first to break the ice. Riaz and the others knew that Taching Hage was White Dragon Emperor Wally's subordinate, so it was understandable for them to be cautious. "Don't you want to explain? Why is this guy in my house?" Riaz snapped. She cursed Dustless in her mind. This was her house. It was one thing for him to bring a random person without summoning, but the worst thing was that this person was a member of her nemesis, the Disaster Squad. Elder sister, Kitten fearfully looked at the smiling black song of Deshang. Fear flashed across her face, and her fists were clenched tightly. It was not hard to see that she was very afraid of Black Song. Cough, cough. "I'm sorry, this is my oversight. Her name is Black Song of Taching, which is also Kitten's sister. From now on, she's one of us." Dustless suddenly broke the news. All the girls were tongue-tied, their faces full of suspicion. "Everyone, please advise me." Taching Hegu elegantly lifted her skirt and smiled gently at Riaz and the other girls. However, in the eyes of the girls, it felt like a weasel paying a visit to a chicken with ill intentions. Even so, it still couldn't dispel everyone's doubts. Even if you're Riaz's fiancé, it's not appropriate for you to bring a strange woman home. Especially since this guy is the White Dragon Emperor's subordinate. There's a need to check carefully. A powerful voice suddenly sounded. The voice was infused with magic, bringing with it a sense of oppression. "You want to check on Black Song? Dustless's eyes flashed with a cold light. You want to check on the person I brought here? Who do you think you are? That's right. As a member of the disaster squad, it's necessary to check carefully. The mysterious person appeared from the corridor. His dense hair was sticking up, and his cold eyes were domineering like a lion. The explosive muscles all over his body were not simple. Cousin, Riaz exclaimed. Her face was full of surprise. Riaz's cousin? The members of the paranormal research department were all stunned. They all looked at this extraordinarily handsome man. His awe-inspiring aura made people not dare to breathe too heavily. I'm sorry, I don't care whose cousin you are, and I don't care which demon family you're the heir of. I'm not interested in these, and I don't want to know. You just need to know that you don't have the right to check on her. Pointing at Black Song, Dustless's tone was as cold as ice. This is troublesome. Riaz felt a headache coming on. She knew her cousin and Dustless's personality very well. Once they got serious, there was no way they would back down. It might turn into a huge battle in the end, and her cousin was the one who was crushed. Riaz couldn't bring herself to say it. She might hurt Sarah Ojbar's pride. You're just as barbaric and unreasonable as the rumors say. Sarah Oj knew Dustless's personality very well. He just smiled knowingly. Dustless stood there like a statue. He didn't answer. He pulled Black Song to his side and quietly expressed his stance. What he meant was, this person is under my protection. Thank goodness we didn't fight. Seeing this, Riaz let out a sigh of relief. The rock on her chest also disappeared. But Dustless and Sarah Oj stared at each other. There was a possibility of a fight breaking out at any time. The younger generation of demons is about to start. I hope the two of you don't waste time. Riaz's eyes lit up as she tried to dissuade them. Waste time? How is that possible? This kind of comedic fight is supposed to end in an instant. Dustless answered easily and confidently. He then looked at Sarah Oj and asked, You think so too, don't you? Chapter 1378. Sarah Ojbar looked at Dustless in a daze, and there was some anger in his heart. He was the strongest demon of the younger generation, but Dustless's contemptuous tone didn't put him in his eyes at all. What he meant was that if they started fighting, he could finish him off in an instant. Creak, creak. Saratog clenched his fists so tightly that veins popped out on his fists. His palms were sweating, and the crackling sound from his fingers made everyone's heart skip a beat. Why are there so many monsters? Hito Issei wanted to cry, but no tears came out. He suddenly realized that the confidence he had built up with so much effort had crumbled once again. Compared to this group of people, you are indeed pitifully weak. The Red Dragon Emperor Drake did not hold back at all. Compared to Dustless and the others, Hito Issei was a single-celled organism. He was just a weakling. Swoosh, swoosh. A violent explosion sounded, and Saratog's body made crackling sounds like lightning. His aura rose to a level that made everyone feel suffocated. This guy is very strong. Touching Black Song frowned and looked at him cautiously. She felt a sense of danger from Saratog's body, as if he could destroy her at any time. Swoosh, swoosh. Saratog dove down like lightning, and his huge fists went straight for Dustless. They started fighting just like that. Everyone was stunned. They did not expect the fight to be so simple. This guy is so cunning. He actually launched a sneak attack first. Despicable. Junai and the others were so angry that they stomped their feet. They all felt that it was unfair for Dustless. Launching a sneak attack without saying anything was too shameless. Even Riaz, Saratog's cousin, was unhappy with him. So slow. It might have been a flash in the eyes of others, but in Dustless's eyes, it was as slow as a turtle crawling. Let me test how hard your body is. Saratog shouted. His fist that could flatten a mountain was about to land on Dustless's face, but a seemingly weak arm easily caught it. Stop fooling around, brat. A small hand that was only a quarter of Sarah's size calmly blocked the sharp edge of the fist, and the fist with the pressure of Mount Tai was unable to move forward in the slightest. This. Gulp. How is this possible? Saroj was tongue-tied as his internal organs violently jumped. He subconsciously looked at Dustless. This snow-white hand that was comparable to a woman's belonged to him. Dustless looked straight at Saroj without any ripples in his eyes, as he explained in a soft voice, "It's just a game of words. You can play it casually, but if you go beyond this boundary, the flavor will change. Especially when you raise your fist. I can kill you at any time." His pitch-black eyes were as bright as the moon. His calm tone was filled with confidence, but it caused Black G's eyes to light up. He felt as if he had just woken up from a dream. TSK. I didn't expect this kid to care about me so much. It's not bad to make a baby with him. The Shanghai-gu pursed her lips. She did not have any prejudice against her partner as long as he was strong enough. Dustless was a perfect fit. It was far more fitting than anyone else he had met before. "Are you looking down on me? Why aren't you fighting back?" Saroj pulled back his fist with an ugly expression. His old face was burning with pain. Dustless's words hurt even more than a beating. "You're right to understand it that way. The gap is indeed too big. You should have tested it out just now." Dustless casually gave an excuse. The so-called strongest young demon was just SOSO. Whether or not he could even close the White Dragon Emperor Wally was a problem. Oomph. Hearing this, Saroj's eyes flashed with a scarlet color. He raised his lowered arm again as his veins popped out. This time, he gathered even more strength and smashed it at Dustless. Stubborn brat. Seeing this, Dustless gave him a hopeless look. This time, he was even more ruthless as he simply raised a thumb. Boom, boom, boom. A huge vibration spread out and the entire mansion trembled. The force was so great that Riaz and the others thought that Dustless's thumb would be broken. Who would have thought that the result was so shocking? Dustless only used one finger to block Saroj's attack. That was my full attack, and this time it was just one finger. Saroj was shocked beyond words. His lips trembled as he looked at Dustless suspiciously. He suddenly suspected that Dustless used some kind of mysterious tool to weaken his power. That was why he did not react at all. What's there to be surprised about? Do you even need to think about this? The result is obvious. You didn't use your full strength just now, and I didn't use my full strength either. So this result is not surprising. Dustless shrugged as he explained it as it should be. At the same time, his eyes were focused on the figure in the corner. After carefully sensing it, he frowned. This guy was like a poisonous snake in human skin. On the surface, he was warm and sunny, but on the inside, he was cold and vicious. I seem to have seen this guy before. I remember his name is Theodora Astaroth. I heard that he is a relative of the current Demon King. His background and origin are very scary. Dustless said to himself. He deliberately raised his voice and focused everyone's eyes on Theodora. "Greetings, everyone." Noticing the gaze, Theodora also knew that he could not continue to hide, so he took the initiative to greet them with a warm smile. A poisonous snake in human skin. This is very similar to Sosuke Aizen, but your strength is 1,000 miles away from the others. Chapter 1379. When the observation hockey is practiced to the limit, it can also see through the other party's mind. Just like Dustless, he has already vaguely seen Theodora's purpose. You even want to hit Aisha. Your strength is a bit weak, but your courage is not small. A cold light flashed. Dustless's gaze shifted to Theodora's head. With a playful smile on his face, his lips squirmed slightly. When he was about to ridicule him, someone spoke first. "This place is not suitable for you, Theodora," Riaz's cousin Saroj said coldly. Seeing this, Dustless's eyes narrowed slightly, touched his chin, and said, "It seems that the relationship between these two people is just so-so. Maybe they can help me deal with him. This doesn't seem to have anything to do with you." Theodora's face always maintained a smile, giving people a very warm feeling. People who don't know him will really think that he is a gentleman, but in fact, his heart is black. Ingen is her. Theodora secretly glanced at Aisha and cleared his throat. When he was about to talk to Aisha, Sarah's impatient tone stopped him. If there is nothing else, please leave quickly. I still want to fight with that guy. His tone was obviously a bit harsher. Being disturbed rashly and suffering a loss in the hands of Dustless, Sarah was now angry. I'm going to say no. Theodora was fearless. Instead, he disdainfully curled his lips. He is the blood relative of the current demon king, Beelzebub, and the next head of the Astaroth family. There's no need to be afraid of Sarah. Not only that, Theodora felt that he could use Sarah to show off his strength. Two idiots spit at each other. Wu Chun sat on the chair lazily and crossed his legs calmly. He stared at the two of them with a malicious look, as if he was a bystander. This is a duel between the second generation of officials. It has nothing to do with him, an outsider. Do you want to be beaten? Frowning, Saroj asked gloomily. Dustless has not washed away the shame he gave him, and this idiot came to talk back to him again. It was the unlucky rhythm of being targeted by ghosts when they went out. Humph, if you want to fight, then get out of here. Don't disturb my proposal. Diodora, whose face was flushed red, refused to back down. Propose. Hearing this, Dustless's eyes emitted a cold, murderous aura, and the surrounding temperature immediately dropped. Forget it if you want to propose to Aisha. Dustless revealed his deep, three-tomo Sharingan, radiating a demonic brilliance, and smiled more devilishly than a demon. Propose? Who do you want to propose to? Saroj's murderous aura froze for a moment. He took a closer look and realized that there was no one else but Riaz's family. Humph, that's none of your business. Diodora snorted and walked up to Aisha. Her face was full of adoration. Dear Aisha Algert, to be honest, I've admired you for a long time. When I heard that you were in danger when you first came to the demon realm, I was so anxious that I couldn't eat or sleep well. I even organized an army of demons to save you. Is this guy an idiot? Can someone explain to me what he's doing? Is there something wrong with his brain? I think there's something wrong with his brain. He's mumbling to a wall for no reason. Is he crazy? How can this idiot be the heir of the Astaroth family? He must be the last patriarch. Ha! This idiot is killing me. He's proposing to a wall? The unbridled mockery spread. Diodora frowned and was about to scold them when she suddenly realized that the person who was proposing to her, Aisha, had turned into a wall. What the F***CK is going on? Why am I proposing to a wall? Where's Miss Aisha? Diodora, who came to her senses, shouted in shock. She then recalled everyone's mockery, and her old face twitched. Her eyes were bloodshot. Diodora was so depressed that she almost vomited blood, and her breathing sped up. Not only was her reputation completely ruined, but she had actually proposed to a wall with deep affection. In the future, her name would definitely be passed down in the demon world, and future generations would talk about it with relish. On the other hand, Aisha was already standing behind Dustless at some point in time. You bastard! Being played around like a monkey, Diodora finally could no longer maintain her fake appearance of being handsome. Her face was distorted as she looked at Dustless and Aisha. What? You don't want to continue acting? Dustless asked teasingly as he chewed on an apple. He even gave her a thumbs up and said, Come on, you can propose to a wall so brilliantly. The best actor title will be yours in the future. It must be you who did it, right? It's definitely you. Diodora roared like she was at the top of her lungs. Not only did her plan to show off in front of Aisha completely fail, but she even treated him as if he was an idiot. He was an idiot who was trying to please the crowd. So what if it's me? So what if it's not me? Looking at Diodora's fierce gaze that seemed to want to eat him alive, Dustless asked, unmoved. So what? What a joke. You have to understand that I'm a blood relative of the demon king, Beelzebub, and this is the underworld. What do you think will happen if you offend a relative of the demon king? Diodora asked fiercely, a fierce light flashing in her eyes. Just as she was about to threaten Dustless, a strong figure resolutely blocked her way, looking at Diodora's fierce gaze without fear. Chapter 1380. Dustless's crimson hair fluttered in the wind, exuding a mesmerizing fragrance. As the hair was too long, it drooped on his cheeks, making the willow fragrance even clearer. He could not help but take a few more sniffs. Riaz. Dustless could not help but sigh as he stared blankly at the girl in front of him. This was the first time in his life that he was protected by a woman. This feeling was exceptionally deep, but it was undeniable that Dustless was very happy. Get this straight. He's my fiancé. Is there a need for him to be afraid of you? Theodora. Riaz answered domineeringly. Her cold gaze was fearless as she stared at Theodora. Her aura was even stronger than his. You. Seeing this, Theodora's face twisted even more, almost turning into a fried dough twist. Theodora glared fiercely at Riaz. She could ignore everyone's feelings, but Riaz was an exception. Her brother was also one of the 4 demon lords, and his strength was unfathomable. There were rumors that Sazak's strength was 10 times that of the previous demon lord. Just thinking about it made Theodora's heart skip a beat. Bastard. Do you only dare to hide behind a woman? Come out if you have guts. Theodora pointed at Dustless and roared in anger. She rubbed her teeth as if she was about to grind them to pieces. Me? Come out? If I don't come out, are you going to bite me? Dustless shrugged and said provocatively, Of course, if you have the ability, you can jump over and hit me. Hearing this, Theodora went berserk on the spot. She was so angry that her whole body creaked. This was the most tragic thing in the world. The enemy was right in front of you, but you did not have the ability to touch him. When it came to backing, Riaz was much stronger than Theodora. I'm not going to argue with you. Theodora comforted herself with a fake smile. As the descendant of the demon lord, there was no need to argue with a nobody. Her gaze finally fell on Aisha. Miss Aisha, Diodora took out an incomparably bright rose from somewhere and said with a sincere expression, From the day I met you, I knew that in this life. At this point, Theodora did not know why, but she could not help but stop. She subconsciously looked at Dustless and saw him looking at her with a smirk. Her heart suddenly skipped a beat, and she knew that things were not going well. Then Theodora realized that her hands were empty, and the roses in her palms were all gone. Oh my, you are so considerate. I dare say that you will buy roses for me if I need them. Thank you so much, Your Excellency Theodora. Wu Chun played with the crimson rose in his hand, and he could smell the faint fragrance. Aisha, this is for you. I haven't been able to give you anything good. I just sent Theodora to buy you 2 blooming roses. If you like them, please accept them. Wu Chun handed the roses to Isha gracefully and smiled gently. Really, Dustless. Aisha's eyes widened instantly. She took the initiative to rub against Dustless's shoulder and then lay on it like a cat. This is not right. Theodora was petrified on the spot. She looked at Dustless in disbelief. Her eyes were obviously saying, Why are you using my flowers to please me? Who allowed you to do this? Most importantly, Aisha actually believed it. Even an idiot could see that Dustless was making it up, but she actually believed it without hesitation. How slow are you? Theodora felt dizzy just thinking about it, and her body swayed uncontrollably. I will kill you. Theodora, who had lost her mind, roared angrily. She waved her hand, and a dense number of magic bullets whizzed out. You bastard! Theodora glared at Dustless angrily. In her heart, she cursed Dustless for being a coward who did not even have the courage to fight one-on-one. He only knew how to live behind a woman. Buy me if you have the guts. Dustless shrugged nonchalantly. If this could infuriate her to death, he would be more than happy to do it. You forced me to do this. She clasped her hands together, and a huge magic circle suddenly appeared. She glared at Dustless fiercely, and then angrily injected a vast amount of magic power into it. The magic circle suddenly lit up. You even dare to hit me? Riaz asked angrily. She was still standing in front of Dustless. Hearing this, Theodora just smiled nonchalantly and said, Miss Riaz, you can only calculate a person's true inner thoughts in such an urgent situation. If he really likes you and loves you, he will definitely not let you get hurt. Theodora decided to act shamelessly. She thought of a perfect plan that satisfied both sides. She looked at Dustless with a ferocious and proud expression. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Her expression turned cold. Countless dense lights swept out from the magic circle, and the dense light bullets bombarded Rias continuously. If Rias wanted to avoid it, it would be equivalent to Diodora's intention, and she would be able to hit Dustless. If Rias insisted on holding on, she would definitely be hit. At that time, Dustless could also be half-hearted towards her and be perfunctory towards her. Boom, boom, boom. The light exploded, and a violent explosion was set off. Even a hole was smashed in the house. Something doesn't seem right. What happened? Without a doubt, Rias was safe and sound. All the magic bullets landed on Dustless, but there was no reaction at all. It was as if nothing had happened. Not only that, Theodora also felt extreme pain. Looking at the changes in her body, she was instantly stunned. Chapter 1381. Despite his words, Dustless was actually feeling extremely awkward. He secretly scolded Black Guh for not caring about the occasion. How could he casually mention this kind of hobby? He was obviously trying to trick him. Then let's go take a look. Facing the eager gazes of the girls, Dustless could only compromise. He was not interested, but Junai and the rest were. He had to be considerate of their feelings. Otherwise, his harem would sooner or later be on fire. I found myself in a big trouble today. On the way to the banquet, Rias approached Dustless and sighed. Her delicate little face was unusually wrinkled and sad, which made her look very lovable. My cute Rias, why are you sighing like that? Also, who's the one who got in a big trouble? Dustless blinked and asked curiously. Hearing that, Rias rolled her eyes and said unhappily, Who is it? So far away, but so close. Dustless looked around instinctively and realized that Junai and the rest were walking in front, talking and laughing. Only he and Rias were walking at the back. It can't be me, right? Looking at Rias in confusion, Dustless asked, You can't be talking about that Diodora, right? Just a small character not worth mentioning, just a clown. He is indeed a clown, but you've overlooked a big problem. With a serious expression, Rias said in a low voice, but his position is very special. Not only is he the next head of the Astaroth family, but he also has a special identity that cannot be ignored. He's the relative of the current demon king, Beelzebub. The entire underworld knew that Diodora was the relative of the demon king, but Dustless still beat him up for no reason and almost crippled his legs. What did this mean? It meant that he was directly going against the demon king. To put it bluntly, this was purposely slapping the demon king, Beelzebub, in the face. It seems very serious. He might have indirectly offended the demon king. Dustless nodded as if he understood, but his sloppy expression showed that he did not take it to heart. His bored expression of looking around was obviously just to deal with Rias. Seeing this, Rias did not know whether to laugh or cry. She had a headache about Dustless. Although Demon King Beelzebub would not punish Dustless, it was undeniable that Dustless was already in the Demon King's sights. There's no need to care about such a small fry. Dustless could not bear to see Rias worried, so he comforted her. If that Demon King really comes looking for us, I'll just have to get rid of him for the sake of the people. Dustless said with a smile that was not a smile. A mere Demon King was not worth mentioning. In Dustless's words, calling you a Demon King is giving you face. If you make me unhappy, I'll beat you up like a dog in the next second. Ria's smile became even more bitter. She was afraid that this would happen. Dustless was not the kind of person who would apologize. If a Demon King really came looking for trouble, according to Ria's guess, Dustless would definitely destroy him. By then, there would be one less Demon King out of the four, and the entire underworld would lose its stability. The peace treaty that her brother Syzax had spent so much effort to establish would also disappear. The fall of a Demon King might cause the entire world to fall into a crisis. The people of this world are really narrow-minded. In their eyes, they're only demon kings and gods. Dustless could not help but shake his head. In this world where gods were everywhere, their actual strength was only SOSO. Even if he met his previous enemy, Sosuke Aizen, it might have been a one-sided battle, let alone a super strong person like him who had swept through several dimensions. After a few minutes, Dustless, Riaz, and the rest finally arrived at the gathering place of the younger generation of demons. The appearance of Riaz and the rest immediately caused an uproar. However, when they saw Dustless appear, they all left in disappointment. Without a trace, they had slapped Demon King Beelzebub's old face. It would be difficult for them to survive in the underworld in the future. These guys are really fence-sitters. They'll go wherever the wind blows. Genova, Wisteria, and Rena said angrily, stomping their feet. Riaz and the rest also frowned. Their dissatisfaction was obvious. It was true that everyone would go their separate ways in the face of disaster. These people were really too snobbish. You guys are really bored. What's the point of arguing with a bunch of bugs? Dustless said nonchalantly. At this moment, he was sitting in front of the dining table, enjoying the food attentively. His image of wolfing down the food was completely ruined. At least pay attention to your etiquette. Also, find out what kind of occasion it is tonight. The Norse main god Odin and the other demon kings will be attending this gathering. A dissatisfied voice sounded. Turning around, Dustless saw a girl with a long ponytail dressed as a mage girl with a hot body glaring at him. Demon King, Leviathan, Seraphil. Dustless froze. After stuffing another piece of cake into his mouth and chewing it slowly, he pointed at the people who were pointing at him. These guys are just clowns. Do you have to respect them? Dustless hated fence-sitters who swayed according to the wind. But the main characters of tonight's banquet aren't them. It's the Demon Kings and the Norse main god. Seraphil puffed out her chest and said proudly, "So what?" Hearing this, Dustless pursed his lips, not caring about Seraphil's identity as Demon King. "You're a Demon King too. Have I ever respected you?" The herbal tea that had just entered her mouth spurted out without a care for her image. Veins popped out on Seraphil's forehead. This guy was obviously the kind of person who liked to poke at her sore spot. Dustless not only did not respect her, he did not even take Seraphil seriously. Instead, he treated her like a joke. Not only did he not respect Seraphil, who was a demon king, he even forcibly took away her chastity. Chapter 1382. Hearing this, Diodora was furious. Ever since he met Dustless, this jinx, his glorious life had gradually fallen into a trough. Moreover, this unlucky guy was still haunting him. No matter where he was, he would go against him. If it were not for the huge difference in strength, he would definitely pounce on Dustless and strangle him to death. This guy was too infuriating. Diodora even felt that living under the same sky as Dustless for a long time would reduce his lifespan by 100 years. "Diodora, you're not welcome here. Please leave immediately." Riaz walked over quickly with an unfriendly look on her face. She was extremely furious. This guy was clearly not Dustless' strength, but he still came to provoke her. He really did not know how to spell the word death. "You too." Diodora's face turned green. Riaz and Dustless were in cahoots. This overpowered combination was invincible. In the future, Diodora's voice suddenly stopped. His gaze passed through the sea of people and landed on Sazax and the others who were rushing over from afar. A scheme instantly formed in his mind. "This time, I will definitely kill you." With a perfect plan in mind, Diodora's eyes turned green. He stopped bickering with Dustless and turned to look at Isha, who was talking and laughing. "I can't win against the two of you, but I can still easily take her down." Diodora locked onto Isha with evil intentions and turned into a venomous snake as he pounced. "You have a death wish." Seeing this, Riaz and Dustless's eyes flashed coldly. Both of them were enraged by Diodora's shamelessness. He was a typical B** starred who bullied the weak but feared the anger. "If I can't get you after so much scheming, then I might as well use force. After all, already know my true nature. There is no need to continue hiding anything. Pulling off his gorgeous and hypocritical exterior, Diodora revealed his ugly and ferocious nature. Just as he was about to reach Isha, a gorgeous flash suddenly entered his eyes and stopped behind Isha, blocking Diodora's wolf paw. "How dare you touch my people? You have some guts." Raising his bright golden foot, Dustless aimed at Diodora's face and kicked out mercilessly. Light-speed kick. The straight beam of destruction mercilessly blasted into Diodora's head. So strong, Theodora's pupils suddenly shrank, but a smile of having succeeded in her scheme flashed in her heart. He then cast a defensive magic array on himself to block the kick. Ka-ka-ka. Even so, after a few seconds of stalemate, the dazzling magic circle was finally extinguished, torn apart by the powerful force of the lightspeed kick. Boom, boom, boom. In the end, tragedy still befell Theodora. The dazzling light engulfed her and sent her flying. However, as the magic array had blocked most of the impact just now, the force that hit Diodora's body was only 20% or 20% of its original power. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Bang, bang, bang. Theodora was sent flying backward like a cannonball. She flew back 100 meters and headed straight for the entrance of the villa. Ha ha! Theodora, who was sent flying, suddenly let out a hoarse laugh, which was puzzling. Could it be that this despicable fellow did this on purpose? His goal is to cause a conflict between Dustless and the Demon King. Does this be ** know the consequences of doing this? Riaz was furious. She vaguely understood what Theodora was planning. Looking over, in the direction where Theodora was sent flying, a few high-ranking figures were walking over with smiles. This kid, I couldn't tell. He's very sinister. I was actually tricked by him. He's quite smart. Dustless smiled indifferently. He was not afraid, even if he had to fight with the Demon King. Boom, boom, boom. The wall at the entrance of the villa was smashed by Diodora. The entire villa trembled, and a large amount of dust fell off. Diodora was stuck in the wall, half dead. She only had a weak breath left to breathe. Unfortunately, the few people standing beside Theodora were Sazax and the other Demon Kings. Seeing such a scene, everyone held their breath. This was a banquet hosted by the Demon King. Anyone who dared to cause trouble in public must have 8 heads, especially when the person being beaten was a relative of the Demon King, and the Demon King was present. This person who dared to hit someone must be tired of living. Who did this? How dare they? The scene was oppressive for a few seconds. Then, the powerful roar of the explosion brushed past everyone's ears. Everyone took a few steps back in fear, for fear of being caught in the crossfire. At the same time, they looked at Dustless at the same time. Without a doubt, the culprit was him. How dare you cause trouble at such an important banquet? The person who shouted seemed to be a guard of the Demon Kings. The way he bared his teeth gave people the feeling that he was a dog threatening to bully others. This is bad. Riaz frowned. Her hair was already dripping with sweat. She secretly clenched her fists and thought of a solution. There's no need to worry. Dustless strolled over, looking very relaxed. Idiot, do you know how big a mess you've made? Riaz's tone was rarely stern. She gave Dustless a look and said, Do you see that green-haired man? He's a Chuka Astaroth, one of the 4 Demon Kings who is now Beelzebub. The Theodora you sent flying also has the surname Astaroth. I see. That means that kid and the current Demon King, Achuka Astaroth, are from the same family, Wuching said in realization. Riaz nodded heavily. Just the thought of beating up a Demon King's family member in front of the Demon King sent chills down her spine. Gulp! Everyone was choking, and the scene was silent. Perhaps some terrifying major event was about to happen. Chapter 1383. How dare he? How dare he? How dare he? That was the only thing left in Diodora's mind. She originally thought that Dustless would lower his head and admit his guilt, but now it seemed like it was just his wishful thinking. Not only would this guy not admit his guilt, but he would also provoke the Demon King regardless of the consequences. Are you saying that I'm sick? Blue veins suddenly appeared on his forehead as Demon King Ashoka Astalot flew into a rage. He originally wanted to make a big issue into a small one, but this guy didn't give him any face at all and insisted on making a big issue out of a small issue. You didn't hear wrong, Dustless replied with a smile. He said in a very serious tone. Boom, boom, boom. However, the moment Dustless finished speaking, a soaring aura suddenly erupted like a hurricane sweeping across the entire venue. The young demons with strength and status were all pressed to the ground. They were all sweating profusely and didn't even realize that their clothes were wet. They were cursing Dustless in their hearts. Even if you want to die, don't drag us down with you. Ashoka, calm down. He's still young and doesn't know the rules. It wasn't just the younger generation of demons. Even Sakraz and the others standing beside Ashoka didn't expect him to suddenly attack and were forced to retreat by his violent aura. You think you can do whatever you want after killing Loki? Ashoka locked his gaze on Dustless and didn't hide his killing intent at all. Hearing that, Dustless sneered and retorted disapprovingly. You think you can do whatever you want just because you're the Demon King? I'm sorry to tell you that your laughable identity doesn't have the slightest deterrence in front of me. Good, good, good. He clenched his teeth and said good 3 times. It was enough to show how angry Ashoka was. If you want to fight, just come at me, Dustless said casually as he hooked his finger. The people in the venue only felt a small part of the aura. Most of Ashoka's aura deterrence landed on Dustless. However, what was frightening was that this guy was completely fine. He completely turned a deaf ear to the Demon King's aura, as if it didn't exist. Hurry up and kill him. Diodora was extremely excited. She was waiting for Dustless to be beaten up miserably. Otherwise, his hatred of being disfigured by Dustless's kick would be too unjust. This guy, although Ashoka had unleashed all of his aura, he did not dare to make a move. Everyone frowned. Lord Sazax, should we assist Lord Ashoka in capturing Dustless? Even though it was just as Dustless had said, he was a human and had no right to abide by the rules of the demon world. After all, he was not a demon, but everyone understood the principle of when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Moreover, Dustless had offended one of the 4 giants of the demon world. Let's wait and see for now. This is really interesting. Sazax waved his hand, a surprised smile on his face. He lowered his head and chose not to help either side. Interesting, Gilifia was speechless. If there was a civil war in the demon world, the impact would be no less than the sky being pierced. When that happened, the 3 major forces and some people from the disaster group might take advantage of the situation and rise up. The tragic war of the past few hundred years might start again, and the negative impact would be incomparably fatal. Aha! Sazax smiled faintly and glanced at the gloomy demon King Ashoka. He then whispered to Gilifia, "Can't you see? It's not that Ashoka doesn't want to make a move, but his opponent is too terrifying. Ashoka is afraid to act, so he doesn't dare to make a move." Gilifia could not help but look at Dustless. She saw that he was calm and unaffected by the Demon King's aura. The entire ground was crushed by Ashoka's aura, and only the area where Dustless was standing was unaffected. In fact, this explained everything. In fact, this sudden duel had started from the moment Ashoka released his aura. It was just that Ashoka, who did not receive the results of the battle, was a little afraid of Dustless. On the contrary, Dustless had not counterattacked until now. Interesting. The fallen angel Athaziel, the archangel Michael, and the main god Odin were all very interested. They had different attitudes towards the grudge between Dustless and Ashoka. In their eyes, the one who provoked Ashoka was Diodora. Not to mention disfigurement. Even if Ashoka killed him, he deserved it. Provoking the strong had to pay the price. Without enough strength, angering a creature of a higher dimension. What was this if not an idiot? Even if he was killed, he had only himself to blame. If you don't make a move, I will. With a sneer, Dustless made the first move. His body whistled out. His hand clenched into a fist, and his skin instantly became dark and filled with an invincible sharpness. Armament hockey hardening. Umph. I'm the Demon King. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Achuka snorted, feeling that he was being underestimated. Dustless chose to fight him hand to hand. Wasn't this underestimating him? No, this was simply looking down on him. Angered, Demon King Achuka also clenched his hand into a fist and smashed towards Dustless. Bang, bang, bang. The dull impact swept out, and the eruption of the blast directly destroyed the villa. Everyone thought that Dustless would be killed. After all, the opponent was a Demon King. But the result was the opposite. The black shadow that was thrown out was Demon King Achuka. Ka ka ka. The crisp sound was creepy, and Achuka's face was pale. The powerful force destroyed the bones in his arm, and the power of both sides was almost one-sided. Chapter 1384. Ka ka ka. Demon King Achuka Astaroth was so angry that his bones were cracking. He did not expect his friends who called him brothers to be silent at this moment. What did this mean? It meant that Syzax and the others had tacitly agreed that Dustless had taken his position as the Demon King. Don't stare at the three of us so fiercely. To put it bluntly, this is a matter between you demons and has nothing to do with the fallen angels. Demon King Achuka, I will not participate in your struggle. By the way, I would like to express my personal opinion. Survival of the fittest. This is the law that has not changed since ancient times. Asashel shrugged. On the surface, he seemed to be ignoring himself, but in reality, he was quietly expressing his position. The hidden meaning was that whoever was stronger would be more suitable to be the Demon King. This has nothing to do with us angels. The internal problems of the demons should be solved by our own people. If other forces participate, it will be used against us. Archangel Michael also decisively distanced himself from this. Young people nowadays are really competitive, but Asashel and Michael are right. This is indeed not a problem that we can interfere with. Stroking his beard, Odin had a strange look on his face, indicating that he would not interfere. You guys, at this point, Demon King Achuka knew that he had been abandoned. They all thought that Dustless had a better future than him, so he was abandoned. If it had been an ordinary person, he would have been suppressed by the gods and demon kings. Dustless was special. This was the benefit of being strong, being able to influence the will of others. Even Achuka and Syzax were silent, not to mention fence-sitters like Asashel and the others. Their eyes were changing back and forth as if they were plotting something. This made Demon King Achuka feel a sense of betrayal and anger. You fence-sitters think that this guy is stronger than me? He is more suitable to be the Demon King than me? Demon King Achuka, who had nowhere to vent his anger, roared angrily. His face was red, and his ferocious appearance was as if he was possessed by an evil spirit. You are mistaken. This is not a matter of suitability. Every world is a place where the strong preys on the weak. It is only a matter of time before those who are not strong enough are eliminated. Dustless was not surprised by the reaction of Syzax and the others. He had even guessed it. The demons were ruled by the 4 great demon kings, and the strongest of the 4 was probably Syzax. Now, under the threat of calamity and an alliance with the fallen angels, and the Norse mythological system, such an unprecedented superpower would definitely be able to ignore all enemies. But when the leader of the disaster cluster, the infinite dragon god Orpheus, surfaced, it meant danger. There was no one who could match him at all. Only the Great Red could be on par with Orpheus. But would the Great Red help them? Obviously not. Therefore, they needed a powerful person to appear, and Dustless was the best choice. Whether it was when he killed Loki, or when he killed Fenrir, or now, when he was facing Demon King Achuka, he had shown unparalleled strength. Although Syzax and Demon King Achuka were close friends, for the safety of the underworld, between his close friends and the survival of the entire underworld, he decisively chose the latter. Therefore, the scale of victory was tilted toward Dustless. It seems that this guy will naturally take the position of Demon King. Seraph glanced at the few of them and sighed in her heart. She was afraid that as long as he defeated the current demon king, Achuka Osterod, Dustless would rise to the top and replace him. This matter did not originate from Achuka. The initiator was a stupid, self-righteous junior, Theodora. The strength you have shown now is not enough to defeat me. I am not Loki, and I will not repeat the same mistake. Demon King Achuka silently guarded everything and chose to swallow it in his stomach. So what if he was unhappy? Was it possible to start a war with the other 3 demon kings, as well as Archangel Michael, Asashel, and Odin? Of course, that was impossible. He would die faster if he did. Stupid thing, you've already been surrounded. Dustless said inexplicably as the Rinnegan in his left eye rippled faintly. Looking at the entire sky, there were only Dustless and the others. There were no other reinforcements. Ha! I am surrounded? Compared to the Demon King, I think you are more suitable to be a fantasist. How about this? Bang, bang, bang. Before Achuka's voice fell, he suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. His face suddenly became extremely pale, and his body was smashed from the sky to the ground. Boom, boom, boom. He lay miserably in the deep pit, with an obvious fist mark on his abdomen. The lower limit of Achuka's chest was hit. How'd he do it? Did any of you see him do it? Asashel exclaimed in disbelief. Dustless didn't move at all. Sorry, I didn't either. Sazax and the others shook their heads, with a hint of melancholy on their faces. They, the so-called demon kings and gods, couldn't even see when Dustless made his move. They were too incompetent. It's over when I say it's over. Dustless's feet landed on the ground. His shadows had surrounded Achuka and could kill him with one order. This technique was one of Dustless's signature ninjutsu, Tomb of Reincarnation, Border Prison. Only those who had the 6 paths ninjutsu, or those who had the same eyes as Dustless, could see the existence of shadows. There was no doubt that this world was equivalent to an invincible existence. No one could see the shadows clearly. The shadows produced by Tomb of Reincarnation, Border Prison could only be beaten. Chapter 1385. No sense of responsibility? Perhaps, but becoming a demon king by accident was just an accident in the first place. He was unfamiliar with the demon king class, and at the same time, he wasn't interested in it. The hard work of being a demon king should be left to Sazax. Go and call Gulifia over. I have something for her. Dustless suddenly said in a deep voice. You really know how to order people around. Black Song of Deshang pursed her lips. Although she was dissatisfied, she did not refuse. Dustless was indeed her boss, and she would definitely obey Dustless's orders. Tap, tap, tap. After jogging for a while, Black Song of Deshang disappeared. Buzz, buzz, buzz. At the same time, as soon as Black Song of Deshang left, the space around them rippled like water. Peeping again? The corner of Dustless's mouth twitched. He thought of a certain lowly with unique interests and said with a gloomy expression, Infinite Dragon God Orpheus. Peeping is not something a dragon god should do. She had peeped on him when he was having sex in the past. Now, he could not ignore her. You can actually find me? But it's normal if it's you. A crisp and sweet voice entered his ears. Then a crack appeared in the void, and a girl in a gothic lowly costume stepped out from it. Her dark eyes were shining brightly like black agates. She stared at the naked Wu Chan indifferently, and her expression didn't regard him as an outsider. Dustless was speechless. You perverted dragon. At least be a little shy. Don't act so matter-of-factly. What's the matter? Dustless frowned. He did not have any deep grudges with Orpheus. Especially after taming the Great Red, Orpheus favored him more. Nothing. There was no bullying in her calm tone. Orpheus always had this kind of calm tone, as if nothing had anything to do with her. Then why are you looking for me, especially in this kind of situation? Dustless said gloomily. He then began to put on his clothes. You're leaving? Orpheus asked. There was a rare ripple in his calm tone. I believe that you and the Great Red should understand that this world is not my beginning, and it is definitely not my end. Leaving is inevitable. Dustless put on his clothes and answered frankly. Orpheus remained silent. She knew that other than this world, there were many other worlds. Dustless was not a character from this world, because there was no such person in the various mythological systems. Otherwise, she and the Great Red would not have been reduced to legends and invincible. Why? Do you want to go to other worlds with me? You can go if you want. Dustless smiled. He had a good impression of this young female dragon. Although she was the boss of Calamity Orpheus, she was still a naive girl who was being used. Orpheus, who did not know anything about the world, did not understand anything. Really? Are you sure? The infinite dragon god, Orpheus, gently pursed his thin lips, and a bright light flashed across his bright eyes. He forced a smile on his face, as if he had finally heard the answer that he had been waiting for a long time. Of course, Dustless answered cheerfully. After all, there was no problem bringing Orpheus along. He would even have a free fighter. You must not lie to me. The infinite dragon god, Orpheus warned as he waved his fist. That threatening fist seemed to be saying, if you dare to lie to me, I will definitely beat you to death. In reality, after the Great Red left, Orpheus was the only one left in this world. He was indeed very lonely. Being alone in the dimensional crevice where all life was forbidden, he would definitely die alone. Lord Dustless. At the same time, Gilifia also hurried over. She was stunned when she saw the infinite dragon god, Orpheus, and her killing intent immediately turned cold. She was familiar with this Gilifia. Stop, he's one of us, Dustless said solemnly when he sensed Gilifia's mana seeping out of her body. One of us? She's the leader of the Calamity Orpheus, the infinite dragon god. She's also one of us? Gilifia retorted. The one in front of her was a demon. No, a great enemy of the entire world. I'm his bodyguard, not his enemy. Orpheus pointed at Dustless as she patted her lackluster cleavage and said seriously. Bodyguard? Dustless was speechless. He didn't think anyone could protect him, but he waved his hand and smiled. Gilifia, go and tell Sazax that the old demon king, boom, boom, boom. Before Wu Chen's voice fell, a violent tremor came from afar. Due to the strong force, the entire villa fell apart in an instant, waking up the few women who were sleeping soundly. Oh, looks like I'm one step too late. They've already started the attack. Dustless stretched his back. He was sure that the old Demon King's people had ambushed this ongoing ranking game. That's fine. I'll get rid of all of you and then hand this broken world to Sazax. Through the window, he looked into the void in the distance. He could clearly see the hordes of black figures there. There were so many of them that it was impossible to count how many invaders there were. But in Dustless's eyes, no matter how many there were, it wouldn't change anything. This was destined to be a bloody massacre. The strength of the two sides was not equal at all. The White Dragon Emperor Wally is here too. If you're willing to keep a low profile and hide, I can spare your life. But you don't seem to understand the kindness of others. The silver figure roaming the horizon was arrogant and domineering. Like a god who ruled the heavens, he looked down at the chaotic underworld, his eyes sweeping around as if he was looking for Dustless. He was so arrogant that he didn't even care about the Demon Kings, as if they were insignificant characters not worth mentioning. Chapter 1386. The speed of light was simply too fast. Even a god would find it difficult to capture its trajectory, let alone the current White Dragon Emperor Wally. It might even be impossible. Therefore, it was inevitable that Wally, who could not keep up with Dustless's speed, could only take a beating. Light speed kick. Mercilessly, it all blasted into White Dragon Emperor Wally's face. The armor covering his face made a crisp ka-ka-ka sound, and then it burst open. All the bright beams of light blasted into his face. Boom, boom, boom. White Dragon Emperor Wally was mercilessly kicked down, and the ground was smashed into a shocking deep pit. His face was covered in blood and scorched marks as he lay in the pit. A single kick had left him half dead. Well, not bad. The hardness of the armor seems to have become stronger. No wonder you dare to invade the underworld and challenge me so arrogantly. But I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you before. The last time I fought you, it was not my full strength at all. Dustless, who was floating in the sky, said to himself, "You bastard." White Dragon Emperor Wally stubbornly stood up and spat out a mouthful of blood. A few white teeth could be clearly seen. His face was sunken in, his nose was crooked, and there was a faintly discernible footprint on his face. Got it. There was a violent roar from the sky, and then the void above Dustless's head suddenly turned dark. "It's you again." Looking up at the falling giant iron rod, Dustless frowned. Combined with the slightly familiar voice and the unique wishful steel rod, there seemed to be no other attacker except for the person who claimed to be the beautiful monkey. "I didn't kill you last time because you had the value of a message. As for this time, please disappear. It's annoying to see an eyesore like you wandering around." High-density, spiritual pressure erupted in his body, and the earth was under Dustless's control and began to tremble violently. A fiery red blade-shaped flame was clearly visible, and the remaining moisture in the air quickly evaporated as if it was the end of the world. Path of destruction. One blade cremation. The flame blade rose from the ground, and the invincible power directly swallowed Silver and the entire staff. So beautiful monkey disappeared together with his beloved weapon. Boom, boom, boom. The earth-shattering explosion swept through the sky, and the strong impact caused everyone to retreat again and again. The remnants of the monkey and the wishful staff were not left behind. "Beautiful monkey is dead," White Dragon Emperor Wally said in a daze. His eyes were wide open, and he found it hard to accept the situation. It was just one move. How could it be so simple? It's not like he's a nobody. I've already said that the reason he was still alive the last time was because he was useful as a messenger. Now that he's useless and dares to provoke me, he'll definitely die. Dustless said in a matter-of-fact tone. Then, he looked at the White Dragon Emperor and said, "Don't worry, don't be sad. You have no more value. You will soon go to the underworld to continue your previous fate. There's no need to thank me. I'm just that kind of person." Dustless gathered a large amount of light in his hand. He coldly glanced at it, and thousands of light bullets rained down. Yasukani no Magatama. Rays of light poured down like locusts, and Wally struggled to stand up. His eyes were filled with determination as he chanted an obscure and ancient incantation. It sounded quite extraordinary and solemn. "I awaken. Bring the absolute law to the White Dragon Emperor of Darkness. Run through the dream of dawn with infinite destruction. Go to the tyrannical path. I become the Emperor of the pure dragon. Lead thou to the silver fantasy and the pinnacle of the demonic path." As soon as his voice fell, Wally's body emitted a bright light. His small body was enlarged without limit, and he became an unprecedented behemoth. Moreover, the magical fluctuation was unbelievably strong. Dustless was caught off guard and was sent flying. No wonder this guy is so confident. It turns out that he has entered this mode. It's worthy of praise. Dustless nodded slightly and gave a rare look of admiration. Wally soared in the sky, and the void was completely occupied by his huge body. What mode is this? Bursts of dragon roars that belonged to the ancient era resounded through the world. Looking up at the behemoth that occupied the void, everyone felt that they were extremely small and fragile like an hourglass. Wally didn't need to crush them. Just by slightly flapping his wings on both sides, he could easily destroy them. What a big lizard! In this mighty and solemn environment, extremely discordant ridicule came. White Dragon Emperor Wally's huge dragon eyes surged with gloomy, murderous intent. He had paid a lot to enter this unique and powerful mode, and the initiator was this lawless and mischievous person in front of him. Does this guy look down on others? White Dragon Emperor Wally's huge dragon eyes looked down at Dustless, and his eyes flashed with dissatisfaction. Dustless's sloppy face obviously didn't take him seriously when he entered this new mode. He completely regarded him as a joke. The me in this state is completely different from the mode just now. You'd better be serious. Otherwise, I'll kill you in an instant. If that's the case, it'll be too boring. The humiliation you brought me, I'll pay you back double. No, you've misunderstood. The one who should be worried is you, Wally. Shaking his finger, Dustless chuckled and immediately pointed to the depths of the void. The lazy white clouds seemed to have touched the heaven and earth and instantly disappeared without a trace. The cloudless sky was incomparably dark in the blink of an eye, as if it had encountered a catastrophe. The whole world became oppressive dark. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.